Siddhartha now ED files FIR against the Karnataka Chief Minister in the Muda scam case. Siddhartha's wife and brother-in-law are also booked under PMLA. Home Minister Amit Shah slams the Congress chief, calls Kharge disgraceful for dragging Prime Minister Modi into his personal health issues. PDP leader Iltija Mufti triggers a big row, condemns the killing of Hezbollah chief Nasrallah. Protests erupt in the valley over Nasrallah's death. Israel turns up the heat on Houthis in Yemen after crippling Hezbollah. Israeli airstrikes continue to rain down on Lebanon. India Today is the only channel reporting from ground zero. Anti-Hindu hate rises in Bangladesh. Open call for violence is issued. Radical Islamists march to demand a ban on Durga Puja festivities. Days after Chandrababu Naidu claimed that there was beef and pig fat in the ghee used to prepare Tirupati Laddus, the Supreme Court flayed the Andhra CM. The top court declared that the gods should be kept away from politics and said Chandrababu Naidu's statements on Prasadam were inappropriate and premature. Here's more.
Unrelenting row over possible beef and pig fat in Tirupati Prasadam.
దేవుని దగ్గర పెట్టే ప్రసాదం అపవిత్రం చేసే విధంగా ఓసారి బాధేస్తుంది. నాసి రకమైన ఇంగ్రీడియంట్సే కాకుండా ఎనిమల్ ఫ్యాట్ కూడా వాడారని.
Days after Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu claimed that the famous Laddus are adulterated, Supreme Court pulled him up for rushing to the press while the probe is underway. The apex court took dim view of the incident and said at least gods should be kept away from politics. The top court asserted that the case is a matter of devotion for millions and not just another political battle to deal with.
And what we are seeking in this matter, the first, there should be a committee, the judicial committee headed by the retired judges of the Supreme Court and High Court. Then second is regarding to the CBI investigation in this matter. So Supreme Court took the positive response in this matter and issued notice to all the respondents.
Supreme Court also noted that Naidu spoke about Tirupati Laddus even before the FIR was filed or an SIT was constituted. The top court asked Solicitor General Tushar Mehta to seek instructions from the centre on whether an investigation by the central agency is required and posted the matter for further hearing on Thursday.
Being a Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, one state, how can you make these big allegations without any inquiry, without any proof, without any baseless allegations? Clearly, Supreme Court asked it. So that definitely on third we will definitely know.
On Monday, the SIT also began its probe and visited warehouses and rest houses to check how the adulteration took place inside the Tirupati temple. Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu had cited lab reports to claim the act of sacrilege at the revered shrine and said that under erstwhile Jagan government, ghee used for laddus were adulterated with beef and pork fat.
Special investigation team that has arrived here in Tirupati has been here conducting meetings and inspections in across various locations, checking the quality of the flour mill, the rice mill, or even the milk and ghee tankers which arrive here as per the tender supplied and issued after clearances from the DTD board. At Tirumala with video journalist Prasad, Apurva Jayachandran, India Today.
The Supreme Court coming down hard on the TDP government in Andhra Pradesh. So did Chandrababu Naidu jump the gun? The judges seem quite displeased. They're saying keep politics away from religion. Joining me on this News Track broadcast, we've got Deepak Reddy Ganpati, TDP national spokesperson. Shilpa Ravi Chandra Kishore Reddy is a leader of the YSRCP. We've got Raghav Avasthi, an advocate, and we've got O.V. Ramanna. He's been a member of the Tirupati board. So thank you to all our guests. I want to go across to Deepak Reddy Ganpati first. Both the judges asking in very stern words What was the need to go public? Keep the gods away from politics. Where is the evidence? If an SIT probe has been ordered, why not wait for the investigation? The sum and substance of the court proceedings, Mr. Ganpati, is that your chief minister and your government seems to be doing politics at the expense of religion, wanting to score political points to try and pin your opponents down.
Good evening, Rahul. Let me tell you what exactly has happened and why this whole issue, as in context with the Supreme Court observations today. If you see, Chandrababu Naidu ji had a meeting with all our MLAs and ministers some time ago. So that was a meeting specifically for our elected representatives. And in that particular meeting, he made a remark that said that, news came to me that Lord Venkateshwara's ghee was also adulterated. And Chandrababu Naidu ji is a very strong believer of Lord Venkateshwara. And he's told an n number of occasions that after the Naxalite attack on him, his life, he owes it to Lord Venkateshwara. Only because of him, he survived that day. So that is the respect, and that is the
Mr. Ganpati, please answer my question, and that's the court question as well. What is the evidence that you have at hand when a probe has been ordered, the results of the probe are not before you? Where is the evidence to say that beef fat was used inside the Tirupati Laddus?
Yeah, you actually cut me off. I'm coming to that particular fact only. So what has happened when that comment was made? He made that comment with great pain. But that particular comment became viral and national media has taken it up in a very serious manner. And that's when even we kind of woke up in TDP and we went and asked what exactly has happened. And it took us a day for getting this test report out also. So Chandrababu Naidu ji put a special team to rectify the whole situation. He didn't want to alarm the situation. Only because the national media has really picked it up and and wanted the facts, we actually put out those test reports. But the intention of the government was that a detailed investigation would be done and all the facts would be put in front of the people. Even before that, the team, that expert team which was put, took all the corrective steps immediately. But because it is such a sensitive issue for Hindus and this part information had to come out, only because national media was continuously, harping on it, and then we came out with that test report. So this is what has actually happened. In the coming days, all the information would be coming out, not just the ghee. The other ingredients used in the laddu were also not of good quality. So just hang on for some time. Now all the facts would be coming out.
No, but that's the point. No, Mr. Ganpati, I'm afraid that's the point the judges asked. Where is the evidence? In the absence of evidence to make such a comment, when you've ordered a probe, wait for it. It seems that the anger with Jagan Reddy is so high, that the desire to push him down is so high, that even without evidence, he goes out and makes the claim, which is what the judges ask again and again in courts, that we expect the gods to be kept away from politics. Where is the material evidence to conclude that animal fat has definitely been used? And your advocates in the court are struggling to answer that question.
That's not true, Rahul. I think the same question what you are asking us is a question what has to it applies to the Supreme Court also. They are in a hurry. If the report comes out, there would have been a clarity. I don't know why they are insisting so much, but let me tell you something very clear. Those test reports were put out only because it became a very sensitive issue and we wanted to come out with a detailed report. So kindly understand that, it is a sensitive issue. So we could not randomly come out and say this is what has happened or that is what has happened. And in that particular test report, it is 100% clear that there was serious adulteration where the parameter of 96 or 104 had to be, the parameter stood at only 20. So it is definitely contaminated. And 4 vehicles were used and 4 vehicles were rejected. This is the naked truth. Just hang on for some time. All the facts are going to come out and the people behind this would be also punished.
Kishore Reddy, the TDP government says, let the full report come out. We know what we're talking about. Let the full report come out. The facts will be before the public domain. What do you make of what happened in court and what you're hearing from Mr. Ganpati?
Good evening, Rahul. So from day one, that was what we were trying to say. We were trying to say, let's not bring God into politics and make a mess out of it. From day one, there have been just a bunch of lies by the TVP party and its personnel, because it is not a random kind of act where a chief minister of a state comes out in front of the media, in front of public, and says, the ghee has been adulterated with animal fat, unless and until he had a substantial proof. But unfortunately, here, just because, like you said, the animosity towards Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu was so high that he made it all up. Because from day one, when the EO said, when the reports came, and the EO first said that it was adulterated with seed oil, and something like vanaspati and all. The second day, Chandrababu Naidu Garu comes up in front of the media and says, animal fat was used and pig fat was used in it. And then again, the EO comes and says, yes, animal fat was used, but we haven't used it in laddus. And then, there were a bunch of lies continuously coming from their side. But from day one, we were very clear, what is the hurry? When the report had come in July, why did you wait till September to reveal it to the public? And, you were talking about doing Samprakshana, cleansing of the temple and all. I just wanted to understand, if at all something bad has happened, if at all something adulterated has happened, would the Samprakshana take place in July, or would it be taken, just for the heck of it, would it be done in October is what we wanted to understand. Because they knew from day one, the ghee was not adulterated with animal fat, but still they came out, they claimed that it was adulterated, and also they went to an extent saying 1 lakh laddus were sent to Ayodhya using animal fat. So these are kind of...
No, but they say all this in the public, Raghav Avasthi, but then struggle to justify this in court, because the judges in fact go after senior...
The court was today when the court is asking about all these
grateful
things, they try
I'm
to
the
find
only
fault
one
with
who's
the court
allowed
also.
to speak for a bit, because I'm the only lawyer on this panel. And secondly, I had the good fortune to be part of this hearing in as much as I was representing Mr. Vikram Sampath, whom I have represented on earlier occasions, and Mr. Dushyant Sridhar, who's a religious scholar. So one thing we need to understand is this. It is that we have to make a distinction between oral observations and what is actually written in the order. Because all sorts of oral observations are made during the hearing. Unfortunately, there is this tendency that we conflate oral observations with whatever is there in the written order. Now, the written order is very simple. We had made this prayer that the Supreme Court, inter alia, we had made the prayer that Supreme Court should monitor the investigation, because it is very clear that there is something that might have gone seriously wrong. And what the Honorable Supreme Court has said is that it would like to elicit the opinion of Mr. Tushar Mehta, who is the Solicitor General of India, and who would, of course, be representing the views of the central government. This is what has happened. Now, there is, of course, a very good chance that after investigation, and hopefully, and it would be really desirable if it is monitored by a Supreme Court appointed SIT, we were to come to the conclusion that there was indeed adulteration. And if we come to that conclusion, I think what we need to understand is this. Hindu temples do not belong to any government, irrespective of which political party heads it. And I'm saying this with some responsibility, because although I'm not a professional politician, I've served on 2 campaign committees with the BJP, but still, I will say so. No, all Hindu temples.
No, let's spend a moment, Raghav, on what happened in court. From what I can see of the court proceedings, senior advocate Siddhartha Luthra, who was representing the Tirupati Devasthanam Trust, the judges say he wasn't answering questions. You asked a simple question on whether the ghee was adulterated, and he says that there is nothing to show that the ghee that was used was adulterated, and that they are awaiting the report of the committee that's been asked to probe these matters. In that case, do you accept?
Let me complete it.
Yes.
Let me say one thing, Rahul. Let me just respond to this very quickly. If I remember correctly, what fell from Justice K.V. Vishwanathan, who was the puny judge on the bench, was that as of now, there is no proof that the samples that were found to be adulterated were indeed being used to prepare the laddu. So this is what fell from him. Now, in order to get an answer to this question, it is our opinion and it is our contention and stand before the Supreme Court that that such investigation should be monitored by the SIT. So I think it is early to jump the gun for
Yeah, but
anyone,
look at what you're
and we
saying.
should wait
If
for the
you
Supreme
find
Court
some
to pass the
samples
order.
which are adulterated, you have no clue whether those samples were used in the preparation of the ghee or in the preparation of the laddus. You somehow reach the conclusion that their Tirupati laddus have beef fat in them. Now, that's a very
Now,
sensational charge for which there is no evidence.
it can very well be that after investigation, which is why we are demanding the investigation, if all the facts were clear, then there would be no need to demand the investigation. Then we would be demanding punishment, exemplary punishment against those who are
No,
responsible.
which is why it's
As
important
of
to
now,
wait for
there is
the
no
report,
point
which
in
is why Mr. Ganpati, the judge, says, let the report come out because you've got this, it's about Hindu belief as well. Now, suddenly, if people start thinking, and people have come to the conclusion that the Tirupati laddus have animal fat in them and they're very upset about it. But as of now, the courts say again and again that there is no evidence to prove that the samples which were found adulterated were indeed the samples used for these Tirupati laddus. So there's so many leaps of faith in the charge that's being made, Mr. Ganpati.
The statement which has been put out by the temple, where 8 trucks of ghee has been received by AR daily from Tamil Nadu, outjummed previously, when the 4 were the pilgrims. So based on that, the other 4 were checked and they found that it was adulterated.
Okay, I'm having issues with that audio line. Till then, let me ask Ovi Ramanna, who's been a member of the Tirupati Devasthanam board. Mr. Ramanna, do you want to explain where you come out on this? Because you've been involved in the running of this board. This is a question not just to the Jagan Reddy government, it's a question to anybody who's been involved with the board, because if any God-fearing Hindu is on that board and you find that animal fat is used in the preparation of laddu, this is to the shame of every person who was involved in that process. It's a very serious charge against the edifice and the manner in which this entire process is run.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Rahul. And I am not the present board member. I was the former board member of TTD. I was there in the board from 2006 to 8. And since this Prasadam issue is case in the apex court, I don't want to go into the details of the whatever you asked about the Laddu Prasadams and all. But certain things I can certainly tell you. See, Chandrababu Naidu is a strong devotee of Lord Venkateswara. Apart from that, he has got fear of the God. And you don't, just like that, you don't comment on anything on the prasadams and pilgrimage or temple any time in his entire span of 45 years his political experience. And he will think twice, thrice, and he will meet a lot of the people and get only certain opinion, then only he will comment on that. And I hope that certainly whatever the comments he has made, that it is not baseless comments, it is on the document that is evident and all. The document also which has been certified by the National Dairy Development Board, which is a very prestigious analytical board in the country, number one. Number two, one of my participant was commenting about the politicalizing the issue of the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. Yes, it is true, it is a very good point to be discussed and this moment. Rather discussing on the Laddu Prasadam, which is the matter was at the apex court in the progress of the apex court. See, last government, the YSRCP government, they made it a politicalized, very big issue. It has become national, international issue about the pink diamond. Pink diamond, they said that pink diamond was stolen by Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. It was there in the Chandrababu Naidu's puja room. If the CBS goes there, they can find out the pink diamond and they can capture into that. My question to you, and even when the TDP constituted a board on this, they filed a suit, defamation suit also on this one particular people who commented on this. So without knowing the fact or whether it is a genuine or whatever it is and all, because they were experts in propagating the always rumors and false allegations and all. Now,
Mr. Ramnagar,
same Dharmanadi who was the...
Let him speak, let him speak. Let Mr. Ramanna conclude.
No, please, let me complete. Same gentleman who was the general executive officer till last 3-4 months away, Mr. Dharmareddy, he said there was no pink diamond at all. Whereas the chief priest of the Tirupati Devasthan, Ramanadeshulu, was there and his family for decades together, he said that pink diamond was there and it has been sold to Geneva. And he has given PPT also in Chennai, in Delhi, and it has attracted many people in the country. When such is the case, when the YSRCP government has formed, and they constituted a board under the chairmanship of Mr. Y.V. Subbareddy, the first decision they took, they withdrew the case, defamation case. When they only raised the allegation saying that no, that pink diamond was available, very well available in the puja room of the Chandrababu Naidu, if the CBI goes, they can capture into that. And what made them to withdraw this one case against them? So it is clear to understand that YSR was meant for the only raising the allegations against Chandrababu Naidu. And they do not hesitate. They don't hesitate to even to take the God also into politics. They God also into the so using this one their political advantage. Second thing, see whatever the stamp duty they paid for filing the defamation suit, it has gone. Once they withdraw the petition, 2 crores, that is public money, that is pilgrims' money. They withdraw the case. Now 2 crores money has gone. This is one ridiculous this one statement that now these people are telling that Jagan Mohan Reddy yesterday was telling whoever done this one mischief of the God, mischief of the sentiments and all. Nobody is supposed to play with the sentiments of crores of the people. When you people played the sentiments of the people, he said that Chandrababu Naidu should be apprehended. Then now you tell me who has to be apprehended. Second thing I will tell you.
No, once again, let me hold you there and ask Mr. Reddy this question. Mr. Reddy, now here's the point. When this is the vicious nature of Andhra politics. I'm coming back to you. Let's not go too far ahead of ourselves. When you were in power, you tried to do the same to Chandrababu Naidu. Now he's paying back in the same currency.
No, there's a difference, Rahul. Here, it is not Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu who has accused. It was a priest of the Tirupati Devasthanam who had asked for it. So there's a difference. Here, the chief minister himself comes out in the open and says, the past government under the regime of Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu has done it. What does Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu has to do with something that Ramana Deekshitul Garu has to say?
Mr. Vijay Sai Reddy MP who made
any
the comment.
Individual, see, you like an individual are claiming to, when you have your opinion, there are people who are bound to have opinions. And also this is what we are trying to say, let's stop playing politics with God. Let us not do this anymore. The Tirupati Devasthanam is a very sacred place and it is a sacred institution for you, for us, and also not just for TDP and YCP. It's a sacred place for lakhs of devotees of India. Why are you stooping to this level and trying to...
No, but that's a question that Deepak Reddy Ganpati needs to answer. Would it not have been wiser in hindsight to wait for the report to come out, to have the full SIT report, to know whether the adulterated samples were used in the making of the prasadam, and then to go public? This desire of wanting to pin or trip Jagan Reddy down once and forever was so strong that, it seems to have got the better of you.
Rahul, let me be very clear. The first thing is, they said there was the adulterated ghee was not used. So I've clearly shown you a statement which said that 4 tankers were used. The second letter which I showed you was the expert committee which was formed actually got into the bottom of the issue. So we are in government. That's our responsibility to take care of the sentiments of the Hindus. So now we are not going to fall into the political trap of this YCP guys. Just hang on for some time. All facts would come out. Now the detailed investigation is going on, and most of the people who are culprits in this are going to go to jail. Okay. So I don't want to, I've clearly shown you that we did not want to blow it up. We have taken action. We put an expert committee and we corrected the problem immediately so that mistake doesn't happen. And then the other issues are being taken up because it is a sensitive issue. Let me assure you that it was done in best faith.
Okay, I'm out of time.
Reverse engineering.
This is unfortunate, in fact, because you wait for the report to come out. This is a very serious charge. It is not just to do with Tirupati. It raises questions about all kinds of laddus made in temples all over the country. And therefore, if you level a charge of that nature, you must have the evidence to back it. To go level this charge and fly a kite, as it were, just because it's a politically expedient kite, is a very dangerous thing to do. Wait for the report. See that you are sure. Only then would a public functionary including someone as senior and seasoned as Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, go out and make this charge. In the court, it was quite embarrassing today to see that advocates of the Tirupati Devasthanam board quite at odds with what was being said by the Andhra Pradesh government, saying that they didn't have any evidence for this. So that just vitiates the whole proceeding, makes things very awkward because you then don't know who to believe. And if you can't believe people in power, then it really raises questions about the way comments are made in the absence of evidence, because it is politically suitable at that time to target your opponent. Terribly, terribly unfortunate this. Let's see what the report ultimately shows. That's what we're now waiting to see. I'm slipping into a break. When we come back, Israel turns up the heat and Houthis in Yemen after crippling the Hezbollah. Israeli airstrikes continue to rain down in Lebanon. Exclusive ground report from Beirut. India Today is the only news channel reporting from Lebanon. Details coming up on the other side.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Rangila Re with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
We've got word coming in that Prime Minister Modi has spoken to the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Prime Minister has put out a post on X saying that he spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu about recent developments in West Asia. He says terrorism has no place in our world. It is crucial to prevent regional escalation and to ensure the safe release of all hostages. India is committed to supporting efforts for an early restoration of peace and stability. Go across to Gaurav Sawant, who joins us. Prime Minister Modi at this time speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Also in the United Nations, India not joining a lot of countries, including Japan, in demanding that there be a ceasefire and opposing Israel's actions. India very clearly indicating which side of this divide it's on. Gaurav.
Rahul, you're absolutely right. The Prime Minister had a conversation with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. India has a principled stance on this. India wants peace in the region. India is in favor of a two-state solution which live in peace and harmony with each other without threatening each other. So that's the point, India has been stressing on at each time. But India is also opposed to terror. India itself is a victim, of Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, where incidentally, you'd recall in 26/11, Israelis and Americans had also lost their lives during 26/11 that you and I had covered. So very clearly, India has a principled stance. India is in touch with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also had a conversation with the President of Palestine. He also had a conversation with the leadership of Lebanon. India has constantly been in touch with all sides. saying whatever assistance India can provide for a peaceful solution, India is willing to go the whole, hog on that and help in whatever way Indian assistance may be required, Rahul.
Aman, thank you very much for joining us. I want to introduce my colleague Ashraf Wani, who's been reporting from Lebanon. In fact, India Today is the only channel reporting from ground zero in Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes continue to hit southern Lebanon. Ashraf has been in the middle of all that action. Israel finds itself constantly having to deal with the reality of some kind of missile fire coming in from different parts of Hezbollah-controlled territory and also from Yemen, from Houthi-controlled territory. Israeli airstrikes continue to hit southern Lebanon. Our correspondent Ashraf Wani was in Beirut, and as Israeli airstrikes came within a short distance of where Ashraf was. Let me take you through this ground report, and I'll just go across live to Ashraf in a moment from now.
The assassination of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike has plunged West Asia into deeper turmoil. India Today's Ashraf Wani, who's in the war zone in southern Lebanon, visited the site targeted by Israeli missiles over the last few days.
A multi-story building has been targeted a few hours back, early in the morning on Monday, and this multi-story building has collapsed completely, and you can see nothing except destruction here. At least 30 people got killed in the strike, one of the biggest strikes carried out by the Israel in Lebanon since last 1 week after the Hassan Nasrallah's death in the south suburbs of the Beirut.
The ongoing war has caused immense suffering to civilians on the ground.
Israel on the Sunday morning targeted this building behind me here in the center of Beirut. 3 people died. We believe it to be the political leaders. Some top political leaders of Hezbollah had been targeted in this building behind me. You can see everything is shattered here. How many cars had got damaged. There is the presence of army and the security personnel, in fact police, and how much devastating that blast had been in that multi-story building behind me, which has completely damaged it and has caused a lot of damage in that particular apartment.
Despite growing international calls for a ceasefire, both sides continued their attacks relentlessly. With hundreds crossing the border to Syria, looking for a safe zone, the streets in these areas have turned empty.
Most of the people have fled from these areas and are now moving towards the safer areas, and thousands of people and families spend their nights in open sky in different roadsides, parks and the sea beaches here in the Beirut. Indications are so that after the final procession and funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, this war will escalate. Hezbollah has not yet decided the day for the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, but the Lebanese government has already declared 5 days of mourning, which will close on Wednesday. Ashraf Wani for India Today in Beirut.
I want to go across live to Beirut, where my colleague Ashraf Wani is standing by. Ashraf, you've been reporting to southern Lebanon. You've traveled the country. Give our viewers a sense of what you've seen on the ground and what you expect will happen from here.
Actually, one of the interesting moments what I came to learn, Rahul, was when I interacted with one of the senior-most doctors of Lebanon. He's 70-year-old and he has almost all seen all the conflicts in Lebanon, particularly with Israel. He was saying there's something unusual they have seen in these attacks which are being carried out by the Israel from last 1 week, particularly one that hit the Hezbollah headquarters here in the southern suburb of Beirut city. He said the bomb which was used by the IDF could penetrate 15 stories of a building, and that gives some kind of a sense that what kind of weaponry is being used in this war. I have almost witnessed, and I was in the periphery of 3 of the major strikes which were carried out in the Beirut, including that of Hezbollah headquarters. And it is just a time of seconds when a missile comes, no one is aware, and it penetrates into a building and brought it to the ground zero. That is something which is irritating not only the Hezbollah but also the Iran, that this kind of weaponry is very dangerous. They cannot counter it. But the other tactics which are being used by the Hezbollah against Israel, they are being used still, and they may be intensified in the coming days too, to take some kind of revenge from Israel by Hezbollah.
Israel is currently fighting wars on 3 out of 5 fronts. It's stepped up offensive against the 3 H's, Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. In a rare move, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed Iranians, telling them that their nation will be free soon. This even as Israel continues to pound Lebanon and is preparing for a full-blown ground offensive. Hezbollah has meanwhile vowed to fight back. Ashraf Wani with this report.
This is what remains of southern Lebanon's Ein el-Del. Israeli army says it has killed another senior Hezbollah figure, Nabil Qaouk, amid an ongoing exchange of strikes between the two sides. This even as Israeli military tanks continue to mass big in northern Israel-Lebanon border. Israel has expanded its attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen, stoking fears of a bigger regional war. The Israel Air Force's refueling aircraft have been operating in all arenas in the war, providing fighter jets with flexibility in strikes and aerial operations at any distance. The Israeli Air Force is conducting strikes on military targets belonging to the Houthi terrorist regime in the areas of Ras Isa and Hudaya in Yemen, including power plants and a seaport that are used by the Houthis to import oil for military purposes.
We see the attack today, 2,000 kilometers away in Hodeidah and its surroundings, and the achievements, as they are reflected, are very impressive. And the meaning is clear. Those who try to attack us or harm the citizens of Israel will pay a very heavy price.
In Gaza too, Israel continues its offensive against Hamas. A new video released by Israeli army shows a tunnel in central Gaza Strip being dismantled. Israel is fighting wars on 3 of its 5 fronts. All the 3 fronts with the 3 H's. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and the Houthis in Yemen are active and blazing. The opening of multiple fronts comes ahead of the first anniversary of the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. At the heart of the war is Iran, which provides significant financial, military and strategic support to Hamas, Hezbollah and Houthis, and the Iraqi and Syrian Shia militias against their common enemy, Israel. Israel's military actions in the war are therefore in part aimed at weakening Iran's regional influence by disrupting its ability to support these proxy groups. The killing of high-ranking leaders of Hezbollah and the targeting of Houthi rebels in Yemen are seen as direct challenges to Iran's regional strategy. Iran's response to these developments will be crucial in determining the future trajectory of the war. Bureau Report, India Today.
The aftershocks of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah's death are being felt in India, specifically in Jammu and Kashmir. Srinagar city and adjoining areas, particularly Shia localities in the valley, saw widespread protests against the killing of the Hezbollah chief. Slogans and banners denouncing Israel and the United States were seen on the streets of Kashmir. PDP leader Iltija Mufti stirred a controversy by mourning Nasrallah's death and comparing Kashmir to Gaza.
Protests erupt in various areas of Srinagar and Budgam districts in Jammu and Kashmir over the killing of Hassan Nasrallah. Demonstrators took to the streets on Monday, chanting anti-Israel and anti-American slogans, holding images of the Hezbollah chief who died in an airstrike in Lebanon on September 27. The Bajrang Dal held counter-protests against the PDP and NC in Jammu, slamming them for backing Nasrallah. Political tensions escalated after PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti cancelled her campaign in solidarity with the people of Palestine and Lebanon over the killing of Nasrallah in Israel. Mufti's daughter Iltija lauded Nasrallah for backing the people of Gaza. Calling the Hezbollah chief Sahab, Iltija Mufti stated that she, just like Nasrallah, is against Israel's policy.
बट आवर हार्ट्स आर हैवी, हमारे दिल में बहुत दर्द है. आप जानते हैं नसरुल्लाह साहब ने जहां भी आज़ाब शिकस्त जुल्म हो रहा था, खास तौर से गाजा में, उनने उन लोगों के लिए लड़ा जो उनके थे भी नहीं. He wasn't even from there. So our hearts are heavy and people here should have the right to protest. अगर वो protest कर रहे हैं, आपको क्या problem है? They want to protest against the Israeli policy of genocide. कैसे जाके वो वहाँ लेबनान में carpet bombing कर रहे हैं, इसमें कोई गलत चीज नहीं है.
The J&K National Conference also expressed solidarity with Nasrallah.
जो कल हुआ उसके बाद ऐसा लगता है जैसे पूरे क्षेत्र में अब जंग के बादल जो हैं नजर आ रहे हैं. हिंदुस्तान की हुकूमत को, हिंदुस्तान के वजीर आजम को, बाकी मुल्कों के लीडरान को इजराइल पर दबाव बनाए रख के वहां दोबारा अमन कायम करने की मुकम्मल कोशिश करनी चाहिए.
The Congress chose to distance itself from the controversy.
हम बाहर जो देख रहे हैं वो एक अलग जो दुनिया का नजरिया है, जो जिसकी फीलिंग है, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम हमें अपनी डेमोक्रेसी को स्ट्रेंथन करके अपने लोगों के लिए आगे बढ़ने की जरूरत है. मेरा ख्याल है ऐसी सिचुएशन जो है वो क्रिएट नहीं करनी चाहिए.
The BJP questioned the intent of the NC and PDP in rallying behind Hezbollah.
अगर दुनिया भर में कहीं आतंकवाद के खिलाफ कार्रवाई होती है तो नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस, पीडीपी और कांग्रेस जैसी पार्टियां उनके समर्थन में नजर आती हैं. उनको गाजा तो नजर आता है, लेकिन ढाका में हिंदुओं की हत्याएं नजर नहीं आती. ये राजनीतिक दल तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति के चलते चलते इस तरह से अपनी रैलियों को रद्द भी करते हैं, आतंकवाद का समर्थन भी करते हैं. ये लोकतंत्र के पक्ष में नहीं है, आतंकवाद के समर्थक हैं.
Kashmiri pundits joined the chorus, slamming Mufti.
इनको कम से कम शर्म आनी चाहिए. जो 90 में उन्होंने नरसंहार किया है, जो गिरजा टिकू का कत्ले आम किया, उस तक इन्होंने मुंह तक नहीं खोला. उन्होंने जो बांग्लादेश में नरसंहार हिंदू के साथ उस वक्त इन्होंने मुंह नहीं खोला है. मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से, ऐसे लोगों को चुन के इनको एयरपोर्ट तक पहुंचाइए, जहाज में बिठाइए फ्री, हम उसका पैसा देंगे, उनको वहां पोर्ट कर लीजिए.
The protests by the NC and PDP over Nasrallah's killing come a day ahead of the last phase of voting in J&K. Bureau Report, India Today.
The protests in Kashmir come a day before the Union Territory votes in the last and final phase tomorrow. 40 constituencies of Jammu and Kashmir will vote to decide the fate of 115 candidates. 24 of these seats fall in the Jammu region and 16 in Kashmir. Most of the constituencies are located along the line of control. Mir Farid with this ground report.
Jammu and Kashmir prepares to vote in the final phase on 1st October. Campaigning for the high-stakes third and final phase ended on Sunday. There's going to be a keen contest among the NC, PDP and Awami Ittihad party in the valley and a do-or-die battle between the BJP and Congress in Jammu division. Security has been beefed up for polling to be held in 40 of the total 90 seats in the 7 districts: Kupwara, Baramulla, Bandipora, Udhampur, Samba, Kathua and Jammu.
पोलिंग जितना भी अमला है वो यहाँ आ गए हैं, वो मशीनें भी ले रहे हैं। इनके लिए इनको सहूलियत देने के लिए आप खुद भी देख रहे हैं, हमने यहाँ एम्बुलेंस भी लगा रखी है, मेडिकल एम्बुलेंस, फायर एंड इमरजेंसी वाली गाड़ियाँ भी रखी है। अगर कोई भी ऐसा कुछ होता है तो जल्दी रिस्पॉन्स मिले। जितने भी पोलिंग जो अमला है वो सुबह सवेरे यहाँ आए हैं। हमारे 158 पोलिंग स्टेशन है।
Nomads of Bhaderwa moved towards Bani in Kathua to participate in the final phase voting.
तो इसमें वोटों का हमें दोबारा मौका मिला, हम बड़े खुशी से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं वोट देने के लिए। इसलिए हम 15-15, 20-20 दिन पीछे निकालते थे, मगर वोटों की वजह से हम जल्दी कर रहे हैं आगे जाने के लिए।
वोट देने जाना है हमने, इससे पहले हमने कोई पता नहीं था। हम चार तारे अपने माल चार के मेहनत करके अपने हम कारोबार अपने करते रहे। वोट का हमने को समझाया नहीं था, कोई नाम माथे को कोई वेलियो या कोई इसकी सामी थी। आपने वोट इसी पार्टी का। मैं तमाम बुजुर्गों से, नौजवान साथियों से गुजारिश करता हूं कि कल।
But the most critical part of this phase of election is going to be in constituencies located along the line of control. In Bandipora, people want change. Famous for the boycott wave, this region wants to script its future, this time through vote.
72 साल से एनसी ने हमें डसा है, रगड़ा है। यहाँ कुछ नहीं किया एनसी ने, क्या किया कांग्रेस ने, क्या किया। अब बीजेपी आई, बीजेपी ने उससे बदतर किया। यहाँ
बहुत बेरोजगार है। यहाँ पे कश्मीर में इतना सख्ती है, कश्मीर में दुकान भी बहुत सख्ती है, मतलब काम भी नहीं चलता है। आज जवानों को ऐसे ही उठा लेते हैं, कहीं पे भी देखो इधर कोई भी लोग आराम से बोल नहीं सकते।
तकरीबन मुझे 35 FIR है। किसने लगाए, क्यों लगाए? अब मोदी बोलता है यहाँ अमन है, क्या अमन है? जरा मुझे बताओ। उसने वादा किया था स्टेट का, दिया अब तक?
उसका यही रीजन है कि बीजेपी ने काफी सारे ऐसे काले कानून कश्मीर के ऊपर ठोक दिए हैं।
हजारों लाखों जॉब्स पेंडिंग है, एक भी नोटिफिकेशन नहीं निकलता है, कैंसिल होता है। इनका ही कोई ताई चाचा आ जाता है, पीछे से स्टेट निकाल देता है।
ड्रेनें है, रोड है, और जो ऊपर रहते हैं बंदे, उनको भी रोड होना चाहिए।
कश्मीर के जो यहाँ के जो लोकल रिसोर्स है, टूरिज्म है, फर्नीचर है, वट एवर, कहाँ जा रहा है? कश्मीरी को एक इतना टुकड़ा भी नहीं हाथ लगाने देते, कहाँ जाता वो फर्नीचर?
मैं आज तक बॉयकॉट कर रहा था, हमारी पूरी फैमिली बॉयकॉट करती थी इलेक्शंस की, लेकिन पहली बार हमें उम्मीद की किरण दिखी है इंजीनियर रशीद में। हम सब मिलकर उनको वोट करेंगे।
People are politically very aware. They know who says what and what he does later on, who really asks them for vote and then later on vanishes once he gets the vote and comes back when the next elections come. So all these issues are here, and that will ensure one thing that definitely will happen is maximum voting. People who used to boycott will vote, and that's gonna ensure massive participation in the electoral process come 1st of October.
Over 39.18 lakh voters will decide the fate of 415 candidates in the fray. With Mir Fareed, Bureau Report, India Today.
The interesting thing is, even in parts of Kashmir where the only talk earlier was of a boycott, they're talking about coming out to vote. Whoever they vote for, whatever they like, they dislike, that's up to them. But at least they want to be a part of the democratic process, and they want to ensure that their voice is heard through the ballot box. That's a big change and a step forward. Meanwhile, the state of war in Haryana is also hotting up. With 4 days in the campaign left, Rahul Gandhi set off on a Vijay Sankalp Yatra along with his sister Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. The Congress is hoping that Rahul's Yatra will generate the same kind of enthusiasm that the Bharat Jodo Yatra did. The BJP, on the other hand, is making lots of tactical maneuvers to ensure that their vote bank stays as much intact as possible and that their seat share doesn't come down. Take a look.
The Gandhis entered the Haryana Dangal. Rahul and Priyanka kicked off their Vijay Sankalp Yatra on Monday with a rally in Narayangarh constituency in Ambala. The Congress leaders hit out at the Narendra Modi government on a range of topics, including Agniveer, which has become one of the top issues.
ये अग्निवीर स्कीम नहीं है, ये गलतफहमी में मत रहिए।
ये जवानों की पेंशन चोरी करने का तरीका है। जो नॉर्मल जवान होता है उसे पेंशन दी जाएगी, पूरी जिंदगी उसे पेंशन दी जाएगी। जिसको अग्निवीर नाम दिया है उसे पेंशन नहीं मिलेगी। मतलब अग्निवीर से उसके जेब से पैसा छीना गया है। कहां गया? अदानी जी की जेब में।
Rahul used the rally to dismiss reports of differences between former Chief Minister Bhupender Singh Hooda and party's Dalit face Kumari Shelja with a show of unity.
कांग्रेस पार्टी बिल्कुल जमीन से काम कर रही है, सभी लोग मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं और सरकार कांग्रेस पार्टी की बनाएंगे, इसमें कोई शक नहीं।
The BJP in power for 10 years is banking on Prime Minister Modi.
जो पार्टी अपने नेताओं के बीच एकता नहीं ला सकती, वो राज्य में स्थिरता कैसे लाएगी? आप देख रहे हैं कि कैसे यहां कांग्रेस में मुख्यमंत्री बनने के लिए मारामारी मची है। बापू भी दावेदार है और बेटा भी दावेदार है और दोनों मिलकर बाकियों को निपटाने में लगे हैं। और ये सब देख करके हरियाणा के जागरूक नागरिक कांग्रेस को निपटाने में लग पड़े हैं।
The Congress is smelling a chance in Haryana, where it has been out of power for a decade. The party is hoping to cash in on the anger among farmers and rural population to dislodge the Nayab Singh Saini government.
बीजेपी को यहाँ पे हराओ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद। नमस्कार।
Bureau Report, India Today.
Fascinating battle here. It will set the tone for what follows. Maharashtra is the big one, but Haryana is the first battle after the Lok Sabha election. So very, very consequential. Looking forward to our coverage of results day. This is where I wrap up the news track tonight. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye. Good night.
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Rangila with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
Maharashtra election is such a thrilling story to tell. Conclave is a living, breathing experience of just that. You've had the leaders of all 6 sides present their case to you.
2 साल में इंडस्ट्री बड़े पैमाने पर लाई है और उसके साथ कल्याणकारी योजना, मुख्यमंत्री लाडली बहना, लेक लाड़की लखपति योजना।
Strike rate is one thing. But one, the spirit, the honesty and the principles that we are fighting for.
महाराष्ट्र में नंबर 1 पार्टी बीजेपी थी, बीजेपी है।
We are winning because last 10 years was the lost decade for Maharashtra.
I was happy to give the mantle to Ajit Pawar, more than happy to.
अरे वो मेरे बड़े अंकल है, उनको क्या करूँगा? उनके आंखों में आंखों ताक के मैं देख भी नहीं सकता मैं ऐसा तो।
We hope that we've done our job well, so you can choose well.
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Rangila Re with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Tirupati Laddu controversy, Supreme Court slams CM Naidu, says no conclusive proof yet. Maharashtra government declares cow as Rajya Mata ahead of polls, cites its cultural importance. Amit Shah slams Mallikarjun Kharge for dragging PM into his health matters.
Presented by JK Tyre, Desh Ka Tyre. Co-presented by New Seltos with Kia Connect. Tech is now badass. Co-powered by The Bold Look of Kohler. Co-powered by Lauritz Knudsen Electrical and Automation. Trust has a new name.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Our big talking point is coming from the Middle East, where the war could well be expanding. Will Iran now play a direct role as Israel takes down the Hezbollah? Is an all-out war inevitable? We'll have some of the world's top experts on the Middle East joining us on the show. Also, my special guest tonight is the latest winner of the Dada Saheb Phalke Award for Lifetime Achievement, Mithun Chakraborty. Mithun Da will be with us. But as always, it's time first for the 9 headlines at 9. More trouble mounts for Karnataka Chief Minister Siddhartha. Enforcement Directorate now files an FIR. His wife and brother-in-law in the Muda scam case. Congress hits out, says it's another case of the ED being misused by the Modi government. Supreme Court flays the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, says Chandrababu Naidu jumped the gun on Prasad adulteration charge. Top court tells Naidu to keep gods away from politics. Big relief for Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Karnataka High Court stays probe against the Finance Minister in the electoral bonds case. This after an FIR was lodged against her and other BJP netas in Bengaluru last week. Jammu and Kashmir gears up for Phase 3 polls. Campaigning concludes for 40 seats on Tuesday. Iltija Mufti condemns the killing of Hezbollah chief Nasrallah, faces criticism for it. CBI submits a fresh status report on the RG Car Hospital rape murder case. Supreme Court pulls up the Bengal government again, says tardiness shown in setting up CCTVs in hospitals. Top Kerala actor Siddiqui gets anticipatory bail in the Bollywood sex abuse row. Actor Minu Munir accused the filmmaker Balachandra Menon now of sexual harassment. Bihar grapples with a severe flood crisis. At least 16 districts inundated after flooded Nepal rivers overflow. Relief and evacuation process underway. Markets still in the red. Sensex tanks by 1,272 points. Nifty tumbles by 368. Over 3 lakh crore rupees investor wealth is wiped off. And amidst the escalating West Asia war tensions, Prime Minister Modi speaks to Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu. Says regional escalation must be curbed. Israeli airstrikes continue to rain down on Lebanon. And in fact, that is our top story today. The war in West Asia that appears to be escalating. As I said, the Prime Minister has spoken a short while ago to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But Israel continues to pound Beirut with airstrikes, and a ground offensive in Lebanon appears to be looming. The Hezbollah, stung by the assassination of its chief Nasrallah, says it's ready for a ground invasion. While Israel has stepped up its offensive against the 3 H's, Hamas, Hezbollah and the Houthis. The big question now, will Iran also enter this war? Are we seeing the beginning of an expanding war in the Middle East that could consume the rest of the world? Take a look at today's top story.
Israel bombs central Beirut. The attack on Monday was the first time the heart of the city was targeted since 2006. The strike on leaders of the Popular Front of the Liberation Palestine comes just days after Israeli jets pounded apartment buildings in the southern suburbs of Beirut, killing Hassan Nasrallah. The Hezbollah chief was meeting the top leadership in a deep underground bunker when bunker buster bombs flattened the buildings above. The series of relentless attacks that started with pager bombs has sparked speculation about a possible ground assault in Lebanon by Israeli defense forces at a time the Hezbollah is at its weakest.
We'll do what needs to be done. Our aim is to return residents of northern Israel to their homes. To return the residents of north to their homes, we will be ready to make every effort. This is our mission. This is the IDF mission. And that's what we'll do. And we will employ all our capabilities, including our forces, including your forces and other forces from the air, the sea and the ground.
Hezbollah's deputy chief Sheikh Naeem Qasim on Monday declared the Shia militia is ready for any ground offensive.
Hezbollah will continue with its goals and their presence in the field. The command system and the Mujahideen will continue following with your plan, O Secretary, with the same precision and the steps that you have drawn up. The Islamic resistance will continue to confront the Israeli enemy in support of Gaza and Palestine, in defense of Lebanon and its people, and in response to the assassinations and the killings of civilians.
The escalation in war has taken a huge toll on the common people. Over 1 lakh people have fled Lebanon for Syria.
A multi-story building has been targeted a few hours back, early in the morning on Monday, and this multi-story building has collapsed completely, and you can see nothing except destruction here.
Israeli warplanes on Sunday hit Houthi positions in Yemen after the rebels fired a ballistic missile aimed at the Tel Aviv airport. The bombings in Yemen targeted fuel facilities, power plants and ports. With Israel expanding its war on the proxies of Iran, the US is fortifying its presence in the region in anticipation of a counterattack by Iran.
Really have to avoid it. We've already taken precautions relative to our embassies and personnel who want to leave, but we're not there yet. But we're working like hell with the French and many others to see if we will avoid.
Other Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE, which have Sunni rulers, are expectedly keeping a distance, given that they too have been targeted by Iran's axis of resistance. While Israel pushes to establish a new order in the Middle East, all eyes are now on Iran. With Ashrafani in Beirut, Bureau Report, India Today.
Plenty of big questions to raise tonight. Is Israel now expanding the theatre of war? Will Iran now play a direct role? Is West Asia split wide open on this war? Are we going to see an all-out war in the area or a de-escalation next? My first guest is one of the world's leading experts on the Middle East. He's professor at Middle East Studies at Princeton University in the United States and covers the region very closely. I appreciate you joining us, Professor Bernard Heikel there. Thank you very much. Your first response to what has happened in the last 48 hours, in particular, the volley of airstrikes that have hit Beirut, the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah and several other senior commanders of the Hezbollah. Is this endgame Hezbollah, Dr. Heikel, or would you see now an inevitable escalation of this conflict?
So first, I think, let me just say it's nice to be with you. I think everyone has been surprised at Israel's ability to penetrate the Hezbollah and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran through its intelligence and communications capacities. And no one could have predicted this devastating set of attacks that would basically wipe out the leadership of Hezbollah. And not just the first rank, but the second rank leadership as well. So I do not think that this is the end of Hezbollah. However, Hezbollah is the crown jewel of Iran's non-state actors, the proxies that it has subsidized and trained and armed throughout the Middle East, from Iraq to Syria to Lebanon and Yemen. And Iran will make sure that Hezbollah survives. How Iran does this is not clear. But no one would have been able to predict the success of Israel these last few weeks.
But are we going to see an escalation of the conflict? Because if what you're saying happens, will Iran be drawn into this battle more directly? From using the Hezbollah as a proxy, could now Iran get more directly involved, Professor Heikel?
No, I don't think Iran is interested in a direct battle. It's very clear that the Iranian president, who came to the United Nations just a few days ago, made clear that he wants to de-escalate because the Iranians realize that if this becomes an all-out war between Iran and Israel, America, the United States, will come into the battle on the side of Israel, and Iran will be devastated militarily. So Iran does not want to attack or get involved directly. It wishes to do so through its proxies and through the non-state actors that it has created and the coordination between these various non-state actors. So you see that the Houthis in Yemen are now helping by launching missiles at Israel, helping Hezbollah, that is, and helping the Hamas in Gaza. But effectively, Israel has more or less decimated, if not destroyed, Hamas militarily, not politically, and has done something quite similar, not quite as devastating, to Hezbollah.
Let's talk about the Hezbollah for a moment. This force of which very little is perhaps known. Do you believe that given what has happened in the last 72 hours, Hezbollah itself will find it difficult to revive from these setbacks? Or is the fear that they could hit back with even greater intensity? Can Hezbollah actually regroup? Is that a fear that they could actually get even more intense in their attacks on Israel?
Well, it'll definitely take a while to regroup, but Hezbollah has very, ballistic missiles that have precision guided warheads. Those are still under the control of Iran. So I think whatever Hezbollah does will be at the instructions of Iran. And so far, they have not used these ballistic missiles against Israel. So that means that the Iranians still control Hezbollah's decision making. The other thing about Hezbollah that should be noted by your listeners and watchers is that Hezbollah is not popular in Lebanon. I mean, there is a large percentage of the population of Lebanon, mainly Sunni Muslims and Christians, as well as some Shiites, who do not like the fact that Hezbollah does Iran's bidding and has dragged Lebanon into a war that most Lebanese, if not all Lebanese, do not want with Israel.
You're saying most Lebanese do not want a war with Israel, but do you believe Israel therefore could use this opportunity now to launch a ground offensive in Lebanon of the kind that they've done with the Hamas in Gaza? Is that a real possibility now, Professor Heikel?
I mean, it's a possibility. I think it would be a big mistake if Israel does this. The idea is that if Israel takes a buffer zone, controls a buffer zone in Lebanon, it could then negotiate that buffer zone, bringing in the Lebanese army rather than Hezbollah in that area, and then have calm and peace on its border. I think that's the logic of an Israeli invasion. They've done this. Would be the fourth, if the Israelis invade, this would be the fourth invasion of Lebanon since beginning in 1978, then 1982, then 2006. And each time Israel has done this, it has not achieved its strategic goals. So I think it would be a mistake. And so far, I think Israel realizes that it's had remarkable success with its air campaign and its intelligence attacks. I'm not sure a ground campaign is necessary. That's still open. That's still an open question.
The other key question, Professor Heikel, is the growing division seemingly in the Arab world over how this is playing out. The so-called axis of resistance led by Iran that includes countries like Yemen, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, the proxies on one side, and then you have Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Sunni countries that perhaps do not want to see the Islamic radicalism spread far and wide in the manner that Iran would like to. Are we going to now see an even greater divide within the Arab world over what happens next?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a division in the Arab world, and it's a division that's between so-called moderate states that are allied with the United States and states that form part of this so-called axis of resistance. And there's also a divide between Sunnis and Shi'is as well, with the exception of Palestine, where the Sunnis, the Sunni Hamas has allied with Iran. The other Sunnis have not allied with Iran, and many of them are privately quite happy at seeing the devastation that has been inflicted on Hezbollah lately.
One final question, Professor Heikel. How are you going to therefore see the next few months panning out? We will complete 1 year since the Israeli offensive after the terror attack against Hamas. Now we see fresh fronts opening up, the latest in Lebanon. Are we going to see any solution, Professor Heikel, in the near term at all? Do you see any kind of de-escalation?
I don't see a solution, but I see the possibility of de-escalation. That's possible.
But what would be the trigger for a de-escalation? Do you believe a de-escalation could take place post the US presidential November elections? Is that the next big moment to look out for? Because there are many who believe Israel now sees this as a moment to go ahead, a tipping point for them to simply crush their enemies that lie around them, take advantage of what has happened in recent days and weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the Israelis are definitely on a roll, and they will continue to weaken their enemy. But it's also clear that the Americans are not likely to put any pressure on the Israelis at all. And I think that the election results, whether it's Vice President Harris or President Trump, either of them are unlikely to put pressure on Israel to stop their attacks on Iran's proxies. Remember also that the Americans are fighting Iran's proxies in Yemen, for example. So Israel and America is on the same side in very many of these conflicts.
Professor Heikel, for joining us and giving us the big picture. Appreciate you joining me there from Princeton University. I want to widen this debate because there are several key players, stakeholders, and we want to go across the world. Brigadier General Asif Orion is joining us, former head Strategic Division IDF, General's Staff Planning Directorate at Washington, D.C. I appreciate your joining us. I'm joined by Kabir Taneja. He's Deputy Director and Fellow Strategic Studies at ORF. And Itai Melchior, Researcher and Advisor in Middle East and Africa Affairs at Israel National Security, joins us from Haifa in Israel. And Syed Mohammad Marandi is Professor at Tehran University. So we're getting voices from across. Let me come to my first Israeli guests at the moment because you all are in the heart of this battle. Brigadier General Asif Orion, your reactions to what has happened in the last 48 hours. Do you see a de-escalation or a further escalation of the conflict?
We are now almost a year into an offensive opened by Hamas and joined by Iran and all its proxies. Israel has been on the defensive in the Lebanese front. It didn't open recently for almost 11 months. Mid-September, Israel decided to go on the offensive. And you mentioned some of the operations, and there's a streak of successful attacks, staggering Hezbollah's structure, severing its command structure. I wouldn't say decapitation because it's from the chest up, and also taking out a lot of seemingly secretive capabilities hidden inside populated areas. That's another signature of Iran's school of war. So what we are seeing now is Israel rolling back 2 decades of military buildup by Hezbollah and Iran in Lebanon. And I expect that Israel will not stop before a serious amount of those capabilities are being destroyed and the conditions are being met to accept the terms of Israel, which have not been yet announced. But I'm sure that will include decoupling of the attacks in Lebanon from the attacks in Gaza, removing Hezbollah capabilities from the south in accordance with 1701, dealing with the rest of the arsenal according to 1559 and other aspects.
Itai Melchior, hearing you've just heard what was just said, do you see this as therefore restricted to Lebanon? We're already seeing today attacks on Houthi targets in Yemen. Are we seeing an expanding theater of war, Itai Melchior?
Yes, well, thank you for having me on the show. You forgot to mention also attacks in Syria, which is a way in which Iran fuels and supports Hezbollah. And also I would like to correct the ticker on the bottom of your screen that says that it's a war between Israel and Lebanon. Lebanon is not a side to this war, and Hezbollah is actually a parasite in Lebanon. It is an Iranian proxy. Israel has no dispute, no border dispute with Lebanon. Everything is settled and really no reason for war. So therefore, I think that at least on this front, the idea is to get to some kind of agreement. Yes, to have the Lebanese army take control of southern Lebanon, hopefully without an Israeli soldier having to step foot in Lebanon, because it will only be going in and then coming out again once an agreement is reached. So why not reach an agreement in advance? That still leaves the question of the power of Hezbollah, because Hezbollah, fueled by Iranian money, is much richer than Lebanon as a country, which is a failing state currently with many problems, and a low-level Hezbollah activist, terrorists makes a better living than a high-ranking officer in the Lebanese army. So there's still room to worry if Hezbollah is not dealt to the root.
But you're saying it will be limited to Hezbollah for now. Am I correct that Hezbollah and the proxies of Iran will remain the target? It's very targeted. Am I correct?
It is correct. We've heard voices from Iraq now, that some voices saying that Israel may attack civilian infrastructure in Iraq. It's true that Israel has been shot at, again, by Iranian proxies from Iraq, but Israel has no beef with Iraq. I don't see Israel attacking Iraqi civilian infrastructure, maybe camps of terrorists, that is on the table. It is a possibility. That will be a very strong signal to Iran if this does happen. We see the attacks in Yemen on the Houthis, where there was infrastructure targeted, and I think this is a strong signal to Iran.
You know, Syed Mohammad Marandi, you're professor at Tehran University, you're hearing these voices from Israel saying Hezbollah and the Houthis are all proxies of Iran. What is happening is a targeted attack on these proxies, on the so-called axis of resistance formed by Iran. And there's speculation that Israel could launch a ground offensive in Lebanon. How will Tehran respond? Is Tehran ready to risk a direct war with Israel? Or are you going to continue this fight through the axis of resistance, through proxies like Hezbollah?
Iran will definitely strike the Israeli regime directly because it has violated Iranian sovereignty multiple times. It has murdered an Iranian general just recently and also injured the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon. And it has murdered an official guest of Iran, Mr. Ismail Haniyeh. So Iran will definitely strike, and it will strike hard, but it will also support the axis of resistance. It will enable them to defeat the regime. Israel can slaughter women and children, but it cannot win the war.
No, you're saying it can't win the war, but the fact is that the Hezbollah, which you call part of this axis of resistance, has taken a real beating in recent days. And now with the Hezbollah under attack, with targeted attacks on the Houthis, it seems that your axis of resistance has been taken by surprise. Now, global security strategists expecting a sharper response from forces loyal to the regime in Iran have found that these forces actually have been severely damaged by the Israelis in the last couple of days.
Well, Iran is not a regime. It is an Islamic republic that has popular legitimacy. And unlike the Israeli regime, which is an ethno-supremacist entity, Iran does not believe in racial hierarchy. These different members of the Axis resistance are not proxies, they're allies of Iran, and they were not actually taken by surprise. In the last speech by Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah before he was martyred, he said that he may not live to see the end of the war, but that the resistance will be victorious. And the axis of resistance will continue to support Hezbollah and the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine against this genocidal regime. This is a Western colony that is racist, that believes in racial hierarchy, that carries out ethnic cleansing, that carries out Holocaust, and it must be stopped.
You know, I'll come back to you, Professor Marandi, because the words that you're using could easily be used against Hezbollah and its proxies and the violence they've unleashed in Lebanon and other parts. Kabir Taneja, you're Deputy Director and Fellow Strategic Studies at ORF. What's your sense? Are we seeing now a weakening of some of these Islamic radical forces that have been propped up by Iran over the last couple of decades?
Thanks, Rajdeep. I think at least Hezbollah and Hamas have suffered significant setbacks. I think that's very difficult to deny at this point of time. As some of your speakers earlier said, these have been military setbacks, right? And which is also very important because their capacities have been degraded over the past couple of months. So from that aspect, yes, they have suffered huge blows. And even if there are going to be attempts to sort of rebuild, it is going to take a lot of time and a lot of capacity to do that. Now, we have the bigger question here is the political vacuum going to be big enough in a country, let's say, like Lebanon? And are there actors willing to step in right now to prevent sort of these actors like Hezbollah to rebuild and to sort of build those capacities once again militarily? That answer remains unknown right now. As it was said before, the situation, the political and economic situation in Lebanon is quite poor. So there is a lot of vacuum, both political and economic, for any of these actors to sort of try and rebuild over the next couple of months. But I think for a significant period period of time going forward, at least their military capacities will be under high question.
But as we've seen, General Asaf Orayan, in the past, every time we feel that Hezbollah has been pushed on the back foot, they've regrouped. Now, is Israel ready for a long war? Is there any end game at all, any de-escalation at all possible? Or do you believe Israel now senses this is a tipping point, this is the moment to go in and clean up the Hezbollah?
I think in the last year, it's the first time that Israel goes, unlike past conflicts of degrade and deter, to actually defeat and reestablish the ground rules around it. I'm astonished to hear the speaker from Iran, a genocidal country, calling for the actual destruction of the state of Israel, and whose whole efforts were building around Israel a ring of those terror armies in order to run a war of attrition against Israel until its destruction. Israel is resolved not to allow it. It started with defeating Hamas, rolling back 2 decades of military buildup. It's now busy in rolling back Hezbollah, 2 decades of military buildup since the Second Lebanon War, if we don't count from 1982. And I think we are watching now some effort into reversal of those tectonics that Iran has tried to build around us. And it will escalate until the terms are met. I think what we're
what are those terms? If I may ask specifically, what are the terms that you believe can result in the end of the conflict?
Eventually, Israel has to see zero threats to its borders on behalf of Iran's proxies. It means no open fire, no Hezbollah on our border, no weapons. Certainly heavy weapons out of the state's control in Lebanon, so non-governmental weapons, and arms embargo on non-governmental weapons in Lebanon.
Okay, let me take that to you, Syed Mohammad Marandi. You heard what the Israelis are saying. You mentioned earlier that Iran will give a direct response to Israel. Do you really believe that's what Iran wants, or is that just bravado? Will there be public support if Iran is dragged into this war, as you seem to suggest?
Yes, without a doubt. The Israeli regime has violated Iranian sovereignty on multiple occasions. It has carried out assassinations. It has carried out airstrikes. And there is no doubt that the Iranians will punish the regime. This is a situation very much like what you had in India before independence. The British colonized the country, and whenever the indigenous population wanted freedom, they were called barbarians, they were attacked and killed, and if they attacked the British, they would be seen or presented as violating the British sovereignty and British rights. And it's the same thing. These Zionists have immigrated from Europe, and they are not indigenous to the region, and they have been massacring Palestinians for decades, and this simply cannot go on. They consider themselves a superior race.
You're projecting yourself as the victims, but the fact is, there is no strong condemnation coming for Israeli action from most of the countries in the region, in the Gulf region. While Iran has called for a meeting of the OIC, the fact is many of these countries believe they are also the targets of your axis for resistance. For instance, Saudi Arabia. Is Iran going to get isolated if you expand this theater of war, Professor Morandi?
Iran has no conflict with any country in the Persian Gulf region or any of its neighbors. Iran supports the Palestinian cause, and the countries of the region are encouraged by Iran to isolate the regime and to condemn the regime and to support the Palestinian people who've been brutalized for over 3/4 of a century.
You're hearing this voice, therefore, Itai Melchior. Do you see given this kind of belligerence from Iran, it may well be not realized on the ground, but do you believe that Israel needs to also find a way to have some kind of an end game of de-escalation? Does Benjamin Netanyahu have that end game inside, or is he also going to engage now in competitive belligerence boosted by the killing of Nasrallah?
So, of course, the end game, as was mentioned earlier, is in the end, Israel wants peace. Israel did not start this war. The war was started by Hamas and then by Hezbollah, who's already fired more than 8,000 rockets into Israel. And my misinformed Iranian colleague is giving some propaganda there, but he has never visited Israel or met any of its 20-something Muslim percent population, who are very happy to have the highest level of living in the Middle East, including maybe except for the UAE and Persian Gulf, certainly more than Iran. And today Netanyahu spoke directly to the Iranian people and said that we have no conflict with Iran or with the Iranian people. The number of Palestinians has been growing steadily, which is very strange for a people that is massacred and holocausted. I think the professor should study the meaning of the word Holocaust used. And then he will be much better informed. The end game is peace.
But do you accept that, while you say this is a war that Israel didn't start a year ago, started by Hamas, taken over by Hezbollah, the fact is innocents are getting killed by the thousands, especially in Gaza. So the fear is that if this theater of war expands, many more innocents will be dragged in. Netanyahu says the war is not against the people, it's against regimes, but it's the people who are being killed.
I have not yet seen an army telling people to evacuate areas, giving them detailed maps. Israel did a lot to save civilian lives. But when you have a terrorist organization who is told by its leaders to build weapon storage places in civilian homes, in schools, in mosques, then you cannot come and shout foul when those places are targeted. The crimes of war committed by Hamas, for example, are not only against Israel, it's against their own people who they were in charge of taking care of. And instead of that, they themselves hide in tunnels deep underground and leave the civilians to their misery. So the end game, as I said, is getting peace in Gaza, disarming Hamas, which is almost over, and then getting to an arrangement with regional powers who will take over leadership there, and then with local leadership, get Gaza the chance it should be given to give a full, free life to prosper. The same with Lebanon. Israel wants its 100,000 civilians who have had to leave their homes and are now immigrants in their own country to come back to their home safe from the shelling of Hezbollah. And therefore, as I said, hopefully with an agreement, but otherwise with a ground incursion, which I don't think will happen, and that will be the end of the conflict in the north. And then the question is Iran going to keep fueling terror into the region, into Yemen, into Iraq, and have more of its proxies attacking Israel? And then if that keeps on going, maybe in the end, we will see what happens.
Yeah, but there are no timelines. With due regard, that seems like a very long, drawn-out war.
No, not at all. Hamas, as was said earlier by the first professor speaking from Princeton, Hamas is almost obliterated. Hezbollah still has a lot of capabilities and has still thousands of warheads, but has problems in the leadership and also a growing disgruntlement from within Lebanon, who, as we said, Hezbollah is part of Lebanon's problem, not a part of Lebanon's solution. So therefore, we have seen Hezbollah not be the perfect proxy. Hezbollah and Nasrallah have not been the most disciplined, have not carried out all instructions they have from Iran, as opposed to the Houthis, for example. And therefore, I'm not even sure that the Iranian regime is so sad to see the back of Nasrallah, because they will appoint someone who maybe will be doing more of their bidding.
Right. Kabir Taneja, all of this, of course, happening while India is just watching by at the moment, seeing how this situation develops. We've heard the Prime Minister speak to Benjamin Netanyahu, hoping that peace will be brought in. Does India have any role at all to play here, given the nature of the conflict, or we just simply have to hope that the conflict finds a solution? Even the Americans don't really seem to have any solution at the moment.
Rajdeep, no, I don't think India has any sort of play in this particular conflict. India has good relations with Israel, it has good relations with Iran, and it has good relation with the Gulf states. And that is one thing that a lot of people expect India to mobilize. But at the best, what India can do is sort of reach out and ask for a quick ceasefire or a quick intervention of sorts. But the only country that has the political and diplomatic capability along with the history that is required to sort of step into this conversation is, for the better or worse, the US. But right now the US is too busy with its own elections, and even till a couple of months ago, getting a ceasefire done before US elections, both either from the Hamas side or from the other sides, would have been probably too complicated, and they were all basically waiting for much more clarity to come from Washington DC in January. So I think, but a lot depends on what the role the US plays. Till now, it has been unable to sort of stitch together any kind of process or diplomatic intervention that can have a meaningful impact. So we'll have to wait and watch on that front. India, I'm afraid, not so much.
Syed Mohammad Marandi, in Tehran, the general feeling across the world is, Iran is being seen as a dangerous, as the real danger to global peace. That's how large parts of the world, Western world, see it. Are you in Tehran disappointed in that way, that you are today once again being almost ostracized and being held responsible for promoting the likes of the Hezbollah?
Well, you can tell from the walkout from the UN General Assembly that the Global South is disgusted with the Israeli regime and its atrocities and its racism and its targeting of women and children, whether in Gaza or the West Bank or Lebanon or Syria or Yemen. The regime has a practice, a policy of targeting ordinary people.
General Asif Orion, final word from you. What would your message be to my Iranian guest and indeed those who might see the axis of resistance challenging Israel in the weeks ahead? General Orion, can you hear me? Let me try. General Orion, if you can hear me, what's your message therefore? What do you believe will be Israel's message to Iran and indeed these other countries in the weeks ahead?
We have an old Hebrew saying that he who sows wind will reap storm. So if Iran insists on attacking Israel once more directly, it will face a final response on this. It's not something that Israel will continue to sit down and take the blows just because Iran orchestrates it by indirect ways, over time, doing it in strange methods. Israel is up on its feet and resolved to fight back.
Okay. On that note, I think what we are seeing clearly is a big picture of a conflict which everyone knows is uncertain as to how it will play out. The real possibility of it escalating can no longer be ruled out. Is there an end game out there? Certainly one that doesn't seem to be in sight at the moment. I appreciate all my guests joining me from across the world for sharing your insights. Most insightful. Thank you so much for joining us on the news today. Let's turn from there to our top national story. And it comes from the Supreme Court, where days after the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, Chandrababu Naidu, claimed that there was beef and big fat in the ghee used to prepare Tirupati Laddus, the Supreme Court flayed the Andhra Chief Minister. The top court declared that God should be kept away from politics and that Mr. Naidu's statements on Prasadam were inappropriate and premature. Here's more.
Unrelenting row over possible beef and pig fat in Tirupati Prasadam.
దేవుని దగ్గర పెట్టే ప్రసాదం అపవిత్రం చేసే విధంగా ఓసారి బాధేస్తుంది. నాసి రకమైన ఇంగ్రీడియంట్సే కాకుండా ఎనిమల్ ఫ్యాట్ కూడా వాడారని.
Days after Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu claimed that the famous laddus are adulterated, Supreme Court pulled him up for rushing to the press while the probe is underway. The apex court took dim view of the incident and said at least gods should be kept away from politics. The top court asserted that the case is a matter of devotion for millions and not just another political battle to deal with.
And what we are seeking in this matter, the first, there should be a committee, a judicial committee headed by the retired judges of the Supreme Court and High Court. And second is regarding to the CBI investigation in this matter. So Supreme Court took the positive response in this matter and issued notice to all the respondents.
Supreme Court also noted that Naidu spoke about Tirupati Laddus even before the FIR was filed or an SIT was constituted. The top court asked Solicitor General Tushar Mehta to seek instructions from the centre on whether an investigation by the central agency is required and posted the matter for further hearing on Thursday.
Being a Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, one state, how can you make these big allegations without any inquiry, without any proof, without any baseless allegations? Clearly, Supreme Court asked it. So that definitely on 3rd we will definitely know.
On Monday, the SIT also began its probe and visited warehouses and rest houses to check how the adulteration took place inside the Tirupati temple. Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu had cited lab reports to claim the act of sacrilege at the revered shrine and said that under erstwhile Jagan government, ghee used for laddus were adulterated with beef and pork fat.
Special investigation team that has arrived here in Tirupati has been here conducting meetings and inspections in across various locations, checking the quality of the flour mill, the rice mill, or even the milk and ghee tankers which arrive here as per the tender supplied and issued after clearances from the DTD board. At Tirumala, with video journalist Prasad, Apurva Jayachandran, India Today.
Let's turn to today's election story. It comes from Haryana that goes to the polls on Saturday, where after facing 10 years of anti-incumbency, the ruling BJP is facing a tough fight this year. The Congress has decided to go full throttle in this last phase with Agnivir, Annadata and now a Vijay Sankalp Yatra, which was joined in today by the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi. How's it all playing out on battlefield Haryana? It's our election special.
The Gandhis enter the Haryana Dangal. Rahul and Priyanka kicked off their Vijay Sankalp Yatra on Monday with a rally in Narayangarh constituency in Ambala. The Congress leaders hit out at the Narendra Modi government on a range of topics, including Agnivir, which has become one of the top issues.
ये अग्निवीर स्कीम नहीं है, ये गलतफहमी में मत रहिए, ये जवानों की पेंशन चोरी करने का तरीका है। जो नॉर्मल जवान होता है उसे पेंशन दी जाएगी, पूरी जिंदगी उसे पेंशन दी जाएगी। जिसको अग्निवीर नाम दिया है उसे पेंशन नहीं मिलेगी। मतलब अग्निवीर से उसके जेब से पैसा छीना गया है। कहां गया? अदानी जी की जेब में।
Rahul used the rally to dismiss reports of differences between former Chief Minister Bhupender Singh Hooda and party's Dalit face Kumari Shelja with a show of unity.
कांग्रेस पार्टी बिल्कुल जमीन से काम कर रही है, सभी लोग मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं और सरकार कांग्रेस पार्टी की बनाएंगे, इसमें कोई शक नहीं।
The BJP in power for 10 years is banking on Prime Minister Modi.
जो पार्टी अपने नेताओं के बीच एकता नहीं ला सकती, वो राज्य में स्थिरता कैसे लाएगी? आप देख रहे हैं कि कैसे यहां कांग्रेस में मुख्यमंत्री बनने के लिए मारामारी मची है। बापू भी दावेदार है और बेटा भी दावेदार है और दोनों मिलकर बाकियों को निपटा लेने लगे हैं। और ये सब देख करके हरियाणा के जागरूक नागरिक कांग्रेस को निपटाने में लग पड़े हैं।
The Congress is smelling a chance in Haryana where it has been out of power for a decade. The party is hoping to cash in on the anger among farmers and rural population to dislodge the Nayab Singh Saini government.
बीजेपी को यहाँ पे हराओ. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद. नमस्कार.
Bureau Report, India Today.
And we'll have more of that on Elections Unlocked at 10:30. Okay, let's take a break at this point. When we return, I'll turn to my newsmaker tonight, Mithun Chakraborty will join me. The veteran actor is being honored with the Dada Saheb Phalke Lifetime Achievement Award. Mithun Da on the other side, the disco dancer turned Phalke Award winner.
Audio check. ना भाई गाड़ी पे नहीं बैठना जी, बुग्गी पे नहीं बैठना. राम राम जी. राम राम जी. राम राम. आपकी बात करें. तो क्या हम हरियाणा से इसीलिए. क्या लगे? भाई ने के बेरो के लगा है. सही बात, के बेरा.
Welcome back. Veteran Hindi cinema actor, actually Hindi and Bengali, Mithun Chakraborty will be honored with the Dada Saheb Phalke Lifetime Achievement Award. The award announcement was made today. He will be felicitated with the award at the 70th National Film Awards ceremony in the capital on October 8th. Mithun Chakraborty, or Mithun Da, made his debut in Bollywood with the film Mrigaya with Mrinal Sen in 1976, for which he won a national award. He became a household name after the film Disco Dancer was released in the box office and became a major hit in the early 1980s. Okay, joining me now is the man himself, the Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Mithun Da. You're looking very young and fresh, if I may say so, despite your little grey goatee beard. I like it. Your new beard, new dress. You're looking smart. Congratulations.
I am always young. ये जो उम्र है ना, ये शरीर का है, मन का नहीं. तो मन से I have been always young.
Man say you've been always young. How did you feel this morning when you came to know you had won the Dada Saheb Phalke Award for Lifetime Achievement in Cinema?
Truly saying, I have been saying it from the morning, but trust me, I am speaking everything true. That is, अभी तक होश संभाला नहीं. It's such a big award, such a big thing. मतलब मैं खुशी से हंस भी नहीं सकता, खुशी से रो भी नहीं सकता. Well, I'm totally stunned with the thing, and I'm not out of it yet. होश से अभी तक होश नहीं संभाला.
You know, I remember you said once to me that you came from a choti gully in Kolkata to rise up to the top of Bollywood. It's a remarkable journey you've had in cinema over the years. Any moment for you that stands out? कोई खास यादें today?
इस सफ़र बहुत कठिन. मुझे बहुत लोग बोलते हैं आप बायोग्राफी क्यों नहीं बनाते. मैं कहता हूँ नहीं, क्योंकि मेरी स्टोरी लोगों को इंस्पायर नहीं करेगा, उसको मोरली डाउन कर देगा. सो जो यंग लड़के लोग स्ट्रगल करते हैं ना, वो हिम्मत तोड़ देंगे. It's so hard, so traumatic, so painful. मैं जैसे बोलता हूँ, एक छोटी गली से, मतलब it's a blind lane. From Kolkata, I'm coming from there. Then Bombay, you know, it was so hard that खाना नहीं मिला. फुटपाथ पे भी सो लिया, कभी 5 garden में सो लिया. And that boy becoming India's biggest award on films, is something मैं स्टिल इसको डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर पाया. ट्रस्ट मी, मैं अभी तक उस होश में मतलब उसमें हूँ, नशे में, कि भाई ये सच है कि झूठ है, सच है कि झूठ है.
You know, for my generation, Mithunda, growing up, you are remembered almost like a James Bond character. I remember Gunmaster G9 in Suraksha, then your big hit Disco Dancer, which defined you as a dancing hero. But which movie defines you as the actor, I want to know? Because before Disco Dancer and Suraksha, you had a fine film like Mrigaya with the great Mrinal Sen. Is that the film that defined you? Which is the film that you look forward to with greatest fondness?
देखिए, I'll tell you, after Mrigaya, when I got the first national award, जो होता है, I started acting like Al Pacino. कि ऐसा लग रहा था कि I am the greatest actor. थोड़ा बहुत मेरा सब एटीट्यूड चेंज हो गया. तो प्रोड्यूसर ने देख के बोला गेट आउट. प्रोड्यूसर को लगा कि क्या बिहेव कर रहा है, ऐसा बैठा हूँ, मतलब जैसे एक बहुत बड़ा एक्टर कोई जन्म ले लिया. तो सब ने निकाल दिया. तो मैं समझ गया था कि इससे कुछ तो मैं गलती मेरी थी. तो देन आई डिसाइडेड कि मैं आर्ट फिल्म तब तक नहीं करूँगा जब तक मैं स्टार ना बनूं. इसीलिए फ्रॉम मृगया टू तहादेर कथा सो मेनी इयर्स का गैप है. व्हेन तहादेर कथा आई एम ए सुपरस्टार, देन बुद्धदेव बाबा केम एंड ही सेड दिस इज द फिल्म. आई सेड आई विल डू इट. एंड देन केम रामाकृष्ण परमहंस, ऑल 3 नेशनल अवार्ड्स. बट बहुत डिलिबरेटली मैंने ना बोला उस समय, ऐसी फिल्में मैं नहीं करूँगा जब तक स्टार नहीं बनूंगा.
You're being honest.
के बाद ही मैंने ये फिल्म किया.
A very interesting, honest response. But is today therefore a recognition for Mithunda the star or Mithunda the actor?
Both. I'm a star actor, sir. I have balanced my superstardom and my parallel cinema equally. That's why I got 3 national awards.
So what next for you? Now that you won the Dadasaheb Phalke Award, is politics your future in Bengal? Is it cinema? What is your first love? Cinema or being a political leader?
See that my first love will cinema be always. क्योंकि ये मेरा रोटी रोजी है. I cannot leave it. But I have become very choosy. I only do films which tickles me. You can see my other film release right now, Kabuliwala, Prajapati. It ran for 150 days. A Hindi film also I'm doing the same commercial style, like Baap. Then I'll be doing next Vivek Agnihotry's film. So this will always remain, with the balancing factor will remain. And as it comes, I have no कि दादा साहब के बाद क्या करूं, ऐसे कोई प्लानिंग नहीं है. कि it will come and go. It is life as it goes on. I'll move on.
You know, it's a fascinating life. You started off as a Naxalite who ends up with the Dadasaheb Phalke Award, and that journey has seen lots of shifts, lots of ups and downs. I want to ask you in the end, what is the moment that you are most proud of, Mithunda, your favorite memory in all these years in cinema?
My first film and my first national award. I'm very proud of, because there are some very, very big actors, and among them I won that award. It was memorable for me. I never forget it.
Yeah, we're showing an excerpt of Mrigaya. It was a terrific film and you played a fantastic role in that. Mithun Chakraborty, for delighting audiences over the years, from playing art cinema to commercial cinema, dancing, including background dancer. I remember in a song, Mannu Bhai, Motor Chali Pum Pum Pum. From there you've come here. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much and congratulations once again. Thank you. Okay, Mithun Chakraborty joining us there on the Dadasaheb Phalke. Let me leave you though with an image, with a story which I think really is the happiest story, the best story of the day. The Supreme Court today directed IIT Dhanbad to grant admission to a Dalit student in a B.Tech course because he could not, who was being denied admission because he could not deposit his on-time admission fee of rupees 17,500, saying he's the son of a daily wager. The court said such a talented boy must be given a chance. Today I leave you with an elated Atul Kumar who told India today that his life is now back on track. Today I say 3 cheers to the Supreme Court. I hope they intervene in more such cases, especially for those who've been denied bail for years on end as under trials. Listening to Atul, as I say good night, goodbye, Jai Hind, Namaskar, Shubh Ratri.
बहुत सारे लोग इस उम्मीद में सुप्रीम कोर्ट आते हैं कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट से उन्हें रिलीफ मिलेगा, तो आपको इतनी बड़ी रिलीफ हासिल करने के बाद आपकी पहली प्रतिक्रिया क्या है इस पे?
बहुत बड़ी जीत हुई है यहाँ से, जो फीस की दिक्कत नहीं बनने चाहिए किसी की तरह, क्योंकि यही सीजेआई सर ने बोला, और सीजेआई को और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को दिल से थैंक यू।
इसमें आपके लिए कितनी बड़ी निराशा थी उस समय जिस समय आपका एडमिशन डिनाई कर दिया था, मद्रास हाई कोर्ट से आपको यहाँ आना पड़ा, और यहाँ के लिए आपके मन में कितनी उम्मीदें थी?
मुझे बहुत उम्मीदें थी कि ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पहले ऐसा हुआ था, तो अब एक और केस हुआ था ऐसे, तो अब इसमें रिलीफ मिल सकता है, इसलिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पूरी उम्मीद है।
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Tirupati Laddu controversy, Supreme Court slams CM Naidu, says no conclusive proof yet. Maharashtra government declares cow as Rajya Mata ahead of polls, cites its cultural importance. Amit Shah slams Mallikarjun Kharge for dragging PM into his health matters.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
By new Seltos with Kia Connect. Tech is now badass. Veka, India's largest selling UPVC window.
Massive explosions in Yemen. Ports, power stations, weapon storage targeted. Israel bombs Hezbollah strongholds in Lebanon. Israel targets Hamas in Gaza. Will Israel launch ground forces in Lebanon next? Tinderbox, West Asia is our top focus on India First.
In the past 24 hours, Israeli Air Force fighter jets
flew over 2,000 kilometers and bombed Houthi bases, including the Ras Isa and Hodeidah ports, their power plants and weapon depots of the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Look at these images of destruction in Yemen. Israeli fighter jets bombed multiple locations in Lebanon and targeted the Hamas in Gaza. Israel, in fact, almost simultaneously took on 3 of Iranian proxies as tensions escalate almost across the region. Will Iranian proxies in Iraq and Syria step up their attacks on Israel? And are we now looking at Israeli ground forces enter Lebanon to push the Hezbollah beyond the Litani River? We seek answers. I'm Gaurav Sawant as always. Let's get started with the headlines on India First. More trouble for Siddhartha. The Enforcement Directorate now files an FIR against Karnataka Chief Minister, his wife and brother-in-law in the Muda scam. Congress hits back, says ED is being misused by the Narendra Modi government. Supreme Court criticizes Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, says Chandrababu Naidu jumped the gun on Prasad adulteration charge. The Supreme Court tells Chandrababu Naidu to keep at least gods away from politics. Big relief for Nirmala Sitharaman. The Karnataka High Court stays probe against the Union Finance Minister in the electoral bonds case. This after an FIR was lodged against her and other BJP leaders in Bengaluru last week. Jammu and Kashmir gears up for phase 3 of elections. Campaigning concludes in 40 seats on Tuesday. Iltija Mufti faces flack for condemning the killing of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. Markets in the red. Sensex tanks by 1,272 points, while Nifty tumbles by 368 points. Over 3 lakh crore rupees investor wealth wiped off. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoken to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and took to social media platform X to say, spoke to the Prime Minister Netanyahu about the recent developments in West Asia. Terrorism has no place in our world. It is crucial to prevent regional escalation and ensure the safe release of all hostages. India is committed to supporting efforts for an early restoration of peace and stability. I want to quickly cut across to India Today's Shiv Arur for more on this. Shiv, the Prime Minister's conversation with the Israeli Prime Minister, quite a significant message just days after the big attack on Hezbollah by Israel, and especially the attacks that are still taking place on the 3H, Hamas, Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels. India also hoping it wouldn't escalate into a bigger regional conflict.
Gaurav, Prime Minister Modi's message comes at at a very important milestone in the conflict. It comes, just before the 1 year mark after the October 7th attacks by Hamas on Israel. Remember that Prime Minister Modi was among the first world leaders to react after that attack had taken place in October last year. And now this particular message that comes amidst a very visible, marked escalation on Israel's northern borders after the killing of the Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah is important at 2 levels. One, he specifically calls out terrorism. He's referring, of course, to the Hezbollah, but he also refers to, the safe return of hostages. So he's also talking about Hamas. Remember, India's foreign policy very clearly supports a 2-state solution in which both Israel and Palestine can live in peace and mutual respect and mutual harmony. But that does not mean India does not, call out terror when it sees it. In this particular case, remember, it's complicated, and therefore to call out the terror of Hezbollah, because who else would the Prime Minister be talking about at a time when the direct engagement that's happening is between Israel and Hezbollah forces in southern Lebanon. And therefore, it's a marked message, given that India also shares a strong diplomatic relationship with Iran. Hezbollah are avowed proxies of Iran. Iran completely backs and funds them. And therefore, this is a strong message that is actually being sent out. Remember that Israel looks to India, recognizes India's foreign policy as far as the two-state solution is concerned, still looks to India as playing a larger regional role, as a country that can use its diplomatic muscle to make some kind of a difference and force some kind of a, both a ceasefire and a kind of peace formula in the region. What role that will be, we'll have to wait and see. But Prime Minister Modi's message is certainly an indicator of where India stands now.
Shiv, for the moment, many thanks. You're absolutely right. For peace in the region, step one, hostages must be repatriated to Israel as quickly as possible. And then that ceasefire and cessation of violence and terrorism in that area, and of course aid trucks getting into Gaza. But now this war is actually expanding on multiple fronts. Israel is fighting a war on 3 out of its 5 fronts. It stepped up offensive against the Triple H: Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. Now, in a rare move, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he directly addressed the people of Iran, telling them that their nation will be free soon. That's a very significant message. This even as Israel continues to pound Lebanon and perhaps is preparing for, or is all set for, a ground offensive. Hezbollah, meanwhile, has pledged to fight on and fight back.
This is what remains of southern Lebanon's Ein el-Del. Israeli army says it has killed another senior Hezbollah figure, Nabil Qaouk, amid an ongoing exchange of strikes between the two sides. This even as Israeli military tanks continue to mass big in northern Israel-Lebanon border. Israel has expanded its attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen, stoking fears of a bigger regional war. The Israel Air Force's refueling aircraft have been operating in all arenas in the war, providing fighter jets with flexibility in strikes and aerial operations at any distance. The Israeli Air Force is conducting strikes on military targets belonging to the Houthi terrorist regime in the areas of Ras Isa and Hudaya in Yemen, including power plants and a seaport that are used by the Houthis to import oil for military purposes.
We see the attack today, 2,000 kilometers away in Hodeidah and its surroundings, and the achievements, as they are reflected, are very impressive. And the meaning is clear. Those who try to attack us or harm the citizens of Israel will pay a very heavy price.
In Gaza too, Israel continues its offensive against Hamas. A new video released by Israeli army shows a tunnel in central Gaza Strip being dismantled. Israel is fighting wars on 3 of its 5 fronts. All the 3 fronts with the 3 H's. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and the Houthis in Yemen are active and blazing. The opening of multiple fronts comes ahead of the first anniversary of the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. At the heart of the war is Iran, which provides significant financial, military and strategic support to Hamas, Hezbollah and Houthis, and the Iraqi and Syrian Shia militias against their common enemy, Israel. Israel's military actions in the war are therefore in part aimed at weakening Iran's regional influence by disrupting its ability to support these proxy groups. The killing of high-ranking leaders of Hezbollah and the targeting of Houthi rebels in Yemen are seen as direct challenges to Iran's regional strategy. Iran's response to these developments will be crucial in determining the future trajectory of the war. Bureau Report, India Today.
So what should one make of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu directly addressing the people of Iran? Has Iran's response so far, including after the killing of Ismail Haniyeh, been rather muted? And what next? Is Israel all set for a ground offensive in Lebanon? Let me get you our experts on the show. Dr. Saeed Ghasim-Nijad is a senior Iran specialist who joins us from New York. General Syed Atta Hasnain is an expert on West Asian military operations, and Group Captain Augustine Vinod is a former fighter pilot on air operations that have been undertaken by Israel. But my first question is to our man on ground. India Today's Ashraf Wani now joins me from southern Lebanon. He was in Tyre, and in the way things are developing, Ashraf, is Israel all poised for a ground offensive? What are you picking up on ground?
There are reports for last many days that Israel is building its military power on the borders in the South Lebanon, and they have moved some of the armored vehicles as well as the tanks from the Gaza border, and they are already in place on their northern border. Now, the reports by the sources, what we are getting from Syria is that this can be possible on the first anniversary of the Israel-Hamas war, which started on the 7th of October 2023. And there may be another surprise when on the same day, IDF will make ground invasion into Lebanon.
Ashraf, stay with me. Interesting you should say that. Dr. Saeed Ghasim-Nijad, the 7th Brigade of the Israeli Defense Forces is believed to be carrying out some military maneuvers at the Israel-Lebanon border. Sir, we are told that there are 2 more reserve brigades that have been brought in. Will Israel enter Lebanon on or around the first anniversary of the Hamas attack? Will it be, in your appreciation, will this attack, if at all, happen in days or weeks or months?
Look, the UN was supposed to safeguard the area below the Lithuanian River. They haven't done it for years. Hezbollah is using that area to attack Israel constantly. And Israel has been demanding the UN to do something about it for years. They are not doing it. And after October 7, you have like thousands of Israelis who are living in the northern Israel. They have to evacuate their houses. They live somewhere else for months now. And Israel should do something about it so these people can come back to their houses. And what Israel should do is to neutralize the Hezbollah's capacities in that area so these people can come back to their house.
So in your appreciation, is Israel going to go into Lebanon? It's not if, but when. And will that Litany River then be the buffer zone? It'll try and push Hezbollah to the other side?
I think that has been the plan for a long time. They haven't done it before because they needed to take care of the Hamas. Now that the Hamas situation is neutralized to a certain degree, I think they are going to do that.
Okay. General Hasnain, Israel appears to be on top of the situation, having decimated both Hassan Nasrallah and the top leadership of Hezbollah, and perhaps even the tactical leadership, if indeed those pager attacks, they haven't claimed it, but they've been carried out, if indeed, by Mossad. Now, does it make sense for Israeli ground forces to now move in and push home that advantage? Will ground operations take place in days or weeks in your military appreciation?
Thank you, Gaurav. In my military appreciation, I entirely endorse what Dr. Saeed just said. You see, it's important that there are almost 90,000 people from the Israeli northern settlements who are displaced from their homes. They have to go back. And if Mr. Netanyahu wants to take advantage of the situation, he needs to do something to make sure that his political future is also dictated by this aspect. So like in 2006, 12th of July 2006, the Israeli army the IDF had gone in up to a limited extent. The option is to go deep. If you go deep, you're going to get inextricably involved in this war, which will not see an ending for a long time. But to have limited options, to go up to the river, to create an exclusion zone so that the Hezbollah does not have the option of being able to fire its short and mid-term missiles, mid-range missiles and rockets into this area. That should be the larger aim militarily, the way I look at it.
Okay. And Group Captain Vinod, if you were to look at air power, is there absolutely no threat to Israeli Air Force? Almost it seems across the region, they bombed Houthi bases in Yemen more than 2,000 kilometers away. They have complete air dominance in your appreciation?
Absolutely. In fact, as a DS in College of Air Warfare, I've been saying this. If you don't put your money on air defense, then you might as well write off your country. Because with such a formidable Air Force that Israeli Air Force, like the Israeli Air Force supported by none other than United States, Germany, and to some extent Italy, as per Sipri's report, if you don't have at least the defenses in place, then you're as much as handing over the country on a platter to the opposing country. I mean, we look at the impunity with which F-15s, which has such a large radar cross-section. I can imagine if it was a stealth fighter which moved in. Such a large radar cross-section is able to do air-to-air refueling, while in that video you can see one of the towns of Saudi, very clearly, and putting it out for the environment the very next day with impunity shows how the amount of air dominance that Israeli, or IAF as it is called, also has over this entire region, including probably in large extents of Iran, which is the next thing that we are probably going to talk about in days to come, Gaurav. So,
in fact, that's the question I was coming to. Yeah, Dr. Saeed, why has Iran's response been so muted even after the killing of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran? Is Israel no longer worried about Iran, or what do you make of Iran's response so far and Benjamin Netanyahu directly addressing the people of Iran a short while back?
But I think the regime after the October 7, Israel released itself from the shackles that had been put on Israel by the United States and by Europe. So, and when it released itself from those shackles, it became more aggressive. And what we have seen is that whenever Israel hit the regime actually tried to respond back. And in April, the regime actually,
Yes.
they did with more than 300 drones and missiles, and they were not able to hit even one strategic target. And after that, Israel was able to hit a strategic target deep inside the Iranian soil. So that shows that the regime's missile program, which they spent billions of dollars on it, is really not very useful in hitting Israel in a way that it imposes huge cost on Israel. And the regime's missile defense, it really cannot prevent Israel from entering the Iranian soil. So the regime is in a very strategic impasse. After that, what we saw, so many said maybe, okay, Hezbollah can do something about that. Hezbollah will be more dangerous. And we now see that after a week that Israel had been really battering and shattering Hezbollah, Hezbollah has not been able to have any significant response. So to answer your question briefly, the regime really cannot do anything significant. So that's why we see they are quite silent. What they want now, I think they know that everyone understands that they cannot do anything. So what they hope now is that the West, the United States, Europe, can somehow prevent Israel from doing more. So over time, they can actually build their nuclear weapons, because the only way that their missile program is of any use right now is if they have nuclear weapons.
And there is no way Israel will let them make or complete that nuclear weapon, given the number of covert attacks that have taken place inside Iran, neutralizing their nuclear scientists, as you know better. But General Hasnain, is Iran not in a position to respond directly? Will it only respond through proxies? And as Dr. Saeed was pointing out, the most powerful proxy, Hezbollah, looks very, very weakened today.
See, Gaurav, we all understand that Iran's entire doctrine and concept of war has been proxy warfare. And you yourself very correctly have just assessed the proxy on which Iran was depending all this time, Hezbollah, has been taken out, diluted to a great extent, virtually neutralized. Secondly, the sanctions have had much more effect on Iran than most of us can actually appreciate. Thirdly, if at all this has to escalate, a lot of people are talking about the possibility of Russian support, even Chinese support. I would say the Chinese are not going to enter anywhere into the Middle East. The Russians have got a problem on their hands already in Ukraine. So Iran virtually is on its own. At this time, this is the time when it is the weakest, because ideologically it is also at odds with itself, with a type of a reform movement which is already being undertaken by the new government there. So as such, I'm not sure whether this is the most opportune moment for Israel to actually strike Iran. But definitely a great deal of psychological warfare, good diplomacy will ensure that Iran remains isolated, not in a position to be able to extend its reach anywhere into the areas of its interest.
Okay, Group Captain Vinod, but there is one aspect here. Aerial bombing in Gaza did not achieve the aim that Israel set out to achieve. Hamas still holds 100 plus Israeli prisoners, plus Yahya Sinwar remains alive, though hasn't been seen for some time. Is Hamas yet to be decimated, and air operations, even against Lebanon, devastating as they have been, that victory that Israel is looking for, is it too premature to declare victory unless that area till the Litany River or beyond the Litany River is cleared and made a buffer zone, and ground forces will have to be committed?
Spot on question, Gaurav. Just a couple of quick points. First and foremost, look at Iron Dome. Iron Dome did its job and did its job well. Imagine if Iron Dome didn't do its job, we would be seeing lots of Israeli bodies on the ground. Israeli people would be running for cover today. So that is the point. You have to have a very strong air defense. And that is the bottom line. That is the only way you can save your country, whether it is rocket, whether it is missile, whether it is drones, whether it is ICBM, MIRV, you name it. You have to have an air defense. And that is what this war has taught us. Second, I've been saying this for a while, including in your channel. 3/4 of the Hamas is under the ground. What you see on top of the ground is not the Hamas. It is most probably the moving forces, or, sticking my neck out and say this, is the cannon fodders which Hamas is known to use, which is unarmed civilians. And most importantly, not all the people whom Hamas abducted have been found. Until they are found, whether dead or alive, Israel will keep at it till they find the last man, or at least.
So, Dr. Saeed, I want to understand from you, there were reports of some protests against President Pezeshkian in Tehran today. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, apparently has been moved to some safer location. It appears Iran, instead of being on the offensive, is either scared or on the defensive. It's hiding its leaders perhaps from the next Israeli attack. So is Iran in a disarray? Are the president and the supreme leader not on the same page?
I don't think so. I think
and I believe now.
Okay.
I think the president.
Go on, Dr. Saeed.
The president in Iran is more like an executive assistant to the supreme leader. The supreme leader makes all decisions, but the regime is quite weak. It's illegitimate. The elections have been boycotted for many years now. There have been 3 waves of very widespread protests, each time in more than 150 cities and towns. Each time the regime had to kill more than thousands of people, arrested more than tens of thousands of people. So the regime knows there will be another wave of the widespread protest. So what it really fears is that it has a defeat in the region and then you have some kind of uprising inside Iran. That's really the nightmare scenario for the regime.
Okay, but will there be that uprising in Iran? We'll track that story very closely. I've run out of time on this part of the show. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me. As we slip into a break, there's a comment that's coming from US President Joe Biden. He's called for a ceasefire on Monday, the 30th of September. Now, when he was asked about reports that Israel is preparing for a limited ground invasion of Lebanon in its fight against Hezbollah, Biden asked if he's comfortable with Israel's plan. He said, "I'm comfortable with them stopping." The Pentagon has said the US will send a few thousand troops, additional troops to Middle East to boost security and defense if needed. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Many thanks for watching.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Rangila Re with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
Maharashtra election is such a thrilling story to tell. Conclave is a living, breathing experience of just that. You've had the leaders of all 6 sides present their case to you.
2 साल में इंडस्ट्री बड़े पैमाने पर लाई है और उसके साथ कल्याणकारी योजना, मुख्यमंत्री लाडली बहना, लेक लाड़की लखपति योजना.
Strike rate is one thing. But one, the spirit, the honesty and the principles that we are fighting for.
महाराष्ट्र में नंबर 1 पार्टी बीजेपी थी, बीजेपी है.
We are winning because last 10 years was the lost decade for Maharashtra.
I was happy to give the mantle to Ajit Pawar, more than happy to.
अरे वो मेरे बड़े अंकल है, उनको क्या करूँगा? उनके आंखों में आंखों ताक के मैं देख भी नहीं सकता मैं ऐसा तो.
We hope that we've done our job well, so you can choose well.
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
हो जाए रंगीला रे with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
So when I started my campaigning, महबूबा जी ने अपने सारे engagements cancel किए. मैं यहाँ इसलिए आई क्योंकि लोग मेरा वेट कर रहे थे. But our hearts are heavy. हमारे दिल में बहुत दर्द है. आप जानते हैं नसरुल्लाह साहब ने जहाँ भी आज़ाब शिकस्त जुल्म हो रहा था, खास तौर से गाजा में, उनने उन लोगों के लिए लड़ा जो उनके थे भी नहीं. He wasn't even from there. So our hearts are heavy and people here should have the right to protest. अगर वो protest कर रहे हैं, आपको क्या problem है? They want to protest against the Israeli policy of genocide. कैसे जाके वो वहाँ लेबनान में कार्पेट बॉम्बिंग कर रहे हैं, इसमें कोई गलत चीज नहीं है.
दुनिया में आप देखिए वहाँ ज्यादातर मुसलमानों पे जुल्म से कम हो रहा है. वो कश्मीर हो, गाजा हो, इजराइल जो वहाँ कर रही है वो बिल्कुल गलत है और हम इस चीज को कंडेम करते हैं. जो कल हमने किया वो बिल्कुल गलत है और ये जुल्म सितम हम कहीं नहीं होने देंगे. इससे मेरी आज हमारे वर्कर्स से अपील है, क्योंकि यहाँ बाकी एरिया में प्रोटेस्ट भी हो रहे हैं नसरुल्लाह साहब के लिए, हम थोड़ा सा कम ही करेंगे. आप लोग जानते हैं मैं आप लोगों के बीच में आई.
Presented by Parul University, Vadodara, Gujarat.
Co-presented by
आपका जॉय भारत का जॉय, जॉय ई-बाइक.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Elections Unlocked, our one-stop destination for all news related to elections 2024. This time, of course, the assembly elections. In a few hours from now, 40 constituencies of Jammu and Kashmir will vote in the third and final phase to decide the fate of 415 candidates. 24 of these seats fall in the Jammu region and 16 in Kashmir. Most of the constituencies are located along the line of control. As many as 29 polling stations have been set up along the border. Over 39 lakh voters eligible to cast their ballot in this final round of voting. Our top story of the day is on the final phase of Jammu and Kashmir's battle.
Jammu and Kashmir prepares to vote in the final phase on 1st October. Campaigning for the high-stakes third and final phase ended on Sunday. There's going to be a keen contest among the NC, PDP and Awami Ittihad Party in the valley and a do-or-die battle between the BJP and Congress in Jammu division. Security has been beefed up for polling to be held in 40 of the total 90 seats in the 7 districts: Kupwara, Baramulla, Bandipora, Udhampur, Samba, Kathua and Jammu.
पोलिंग जितना भी अमला है वो यहाँ आ गए हैं, वो मशीनें भी ले रहे हैं. इनके लिए इनको सहूलियत देने के लिए आप खुद भी देख रहे हैं, हमने यहाँ एम्बुलेंस भी लगा रखी है, मेडिकल एम्बुलेंस, फायर एंड इमरजेंसी वाले ने गाड़ियाँ भी रखी है. अगर कोई भी ऐसा कुछ होता है तो जल्दी रिस्पॉन्स मिले. जितने भी पोलिंग जो अमला है वो सुबह सवेरे यहाँ आए हैं. हमारे 158 पोलिंग स्टेशन हैं.
Nomads of Bhaderwa moved towards Bani in Kathua to participate in the final phase voting.
तो इसमें वोटों का हमें दोबारा मौका मिला, हम बड़े खुशी से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं वोट देने के लिए. इसलिए हम 15-15, 20-20 दिन पीछे निकालते थे, मगर वोटों की वजह से हम जल्दी कर रहे हैं आगे जाने के लिए।
वोट देने जाना है हमने, इससे पहले हमने कोई पता नहीं था। हम चार तारे अपने माल चार के मेहनत करके अपने हम कारोबार अपने करते रहे। वोट का हमने कोई समझाया नहीं था, कोई नाम माथे इसको कोई वेलियो या कोई इसकी सहमति थी हमने। वोट इसी पार्टी। मैं तमाम बुजुर्गों से, नौजवान साथियों से गुजारिश करता हूं कि कल।
But the most critical part of this phase of election is going to be in constituencies located along the line of control. In Bandipora, people want change. Famous for the boycott wave, this region wants to script its future, this time through vote.
72 साल से एनसी ने हमें डसा है, रगड़ा है। यहाँ कुछ नहीं किया एनसी ने, क्या किया कांग्रेस ने, क्या किया। अब बीजेपी आई, बीजेपी ने उससे बदतर किया। यहाँ
बहुत बेरोजगार है यहाँ पे कश्मीर में, इतना सख्ती है कश्मीर में। दुकान भी बहुत सख्ती है, मतलब काम भी नहीं चलता है। आज
जवानों को ऐसे ही उठा लेते हैं कहीं पे भी। देखो इधर कोई भी लोग आराम से बोल नहीं सकते।
तकरीबन मुझे 35 FIR है। किसने लगाए, क्यों लगाए? अब मोदी बोलता है यहाँ अमन है, क्या अमन है? जरा मुझे बताओ। उसने वादा किया था स्टेट का, दिया अब तक?
उसका यही रीजन है कि बीजेपी ने काफी सारे ऐसे काले कानून कश्मीर के ऊपर ठोक दिए हैं।
हजारों लाखों जॉब्स पेंडिंग है, एक भी नोटिफिकेशन नहीं निकलता है, कैंसिल होता है। इनका ही कोई ताई चाचा आ जाता है, पीछे से स्टेट निकाल देता है।
ड्रेनें है, रोड है, और जो ऊपर रहते हैं बंदे, उनको भी रोड होना चाहिए।
कश्मीर के जो यहाँ के जो लोकल रिसोर्स है, टूरिज्म है, फर्नीचर है, व्हाटएवर, कहाँ जा रहा है? कश्मीरी को एक इतना टुकड़ा भी नहीं हाथ लगाने देते, कहाँ जा रहा है वो फर्नीचर?
मैं आज तक बाइकआउट कर रहा था, हमारी पूरी फैमिली बाइकआउट करती थी इलेक्शंस की, लेकिन पहली बार हमें उम्मीद की किरण दिखी है इंजीनियर रशीद में। हम सब मिलकर उनको वोट करेंगे।
People are politically very aware. They know who says what and what he does later on, who really asks them for vote and then later on vanishes once he gets the vote and comes back when the next elections come. So all these issues are here, and that will ensure one thing that definitely will happen is maximum voting. People who used to boycott will vote, and that's gonna ensure massive participation in the electoral process come 1st of October.
Over 39.18 lakh voters will decide the fate of 415 candidates in the fray. With Mir Farid, Bureau Report, India Today.
While the political spotlight remains fixated on the Kashmir Valley during this long overdue assembly elections, the real electoral battle now isn't just restricted to Kashmir, but it's taking place in Jammu. This is where the election could be won or lost, with 11 assembly seats in Jammu district alone, 43 seats in the Jammu division. The election results here could decide kaun banega Mukhyamantri, who will be the next chief minister. Despite a recent spurt in security threats that attempt to destabilize the Jammu region by pushing militants across the line of control, the people of Jammu have shown remarkable enthusiasm in these assembly elections. Even the militant attacks and targeted killings haven't weakened their resolve. So what's at stake in Jammu, and why is this region now so important? Joining me now is our correspondent Sunil G. Bhatt from Jammu. He tracks Jammu closely, and Pooja Shali, who's been traveling across Jammu and Kashmir. Good to see both of you on the show. Pooja, first to you. You've been traveling across Jammu and Kashmir. Are we seeing very different elections in Jammu and in the Kashmir Valley?
That's a very interesting observation, Rajdeep, and that's true that while if there is one thing that's been common is both sides, Jammu and Kashmir are ready to vote. They have come out in good numbers, both in first and second phase. But there is definitely a slight difference when it comes to political affiliations. Now, while Kashmir, of course, has had a conflict for so many years, Jammu region votes primarily on the issue of which party will not only vote for them, but for nationalist politics. Now, for Jammu region, what I noticed was while in Kashmir, NC, Congress, PDP were, of course, the big highlights. For Jammu region, they believe that these parties have been Kashmir-centric, that they cater to the aspirations and politics of people of Kashmir, of politics of Kashmir, and that they are treated as sort of a stepchildren. They have been made to believe by the Bharatiya Janata Party that their nationalist politics or the focus on them will come only and when BJP wins. Now, what has happened in Jammu region is there have been remarkable voting turnout, 70%, 80% in Kishtwar, Inderwal. This time, Jammu city, Udhampur, Kathua, Samba, these have been BJP stronghold. They are voting this time. How will it turn out remains to be seen. But often, Rajdeep, when we refer to the word alienation, so to say, with regard to Kashmir, if you actually travel through Jammu, you will hear this word repeatedly, that they have been voting for nationalist politics. They have been voting for peace all this while Kashmir was burning, and yet they have been alienated with development and focus. So which party has been able to convince them that it's their turn of focus of development and prosperity? That will be decided tomorrow, Rajdeep.
Sunil, you've been, of course, based in Jammu. Is there a sense that you get that the Jammu voter post the abrogation of Article 370 is looking at the union territory very differently? Does he or she feel that Jammu deserves more in terms of a greater stake in whatever happens in the valley now?
Well, Rajdeep, I have been traveling across the length and breadth of Jammu region, and I have been speaking to many people. The people I spoke to, they still say that that Jammu continues to face discrimination and stepmotherly treatment, although this issue has been addressed to some extent, but they say that discrimination still continues, and what they want is that equal share when it comes to development, equal share when it comes to politics of Jammu and Kashmir. Although the BJP claims that they have reduced the inequality between Jammu and Kashmir, because after delimitation, Jammu got 6 more seats, and as a result of that, the difference that used to be there between Kashmir and Jammu region when it came to assembly seat, it has been reduced. Jammu now has 43 assembly segments, while Kashmir region has 47. As far as this third phase of election is concerned, Rajdeep, 24 assembly segments of Jammu region are going to the polls, and these 24 assembly segments are in the 4 Hindu majority districts of Jammu region. So it's a high stakes battle for the BJP. There is a lot at stake for the BJP in the Lok Sabha elections that were held recently in 2024. Out of these 24 seats, BJP won 22. BJP was leading in 22, while Congress was leading only in 2 assembly segments. The BJP's aim is to win all these 24 assembly segments.
So what you're saying is the BJP effectively needs a clean... BJP needs a clean sweep in this area to really perhaps push for at least becoming the single largest party, which then gives them a lot of leverage in any post-poll election combination. Remember, it was because of Jammu that in 2014, 10 years ago, the BJP was in a position to call the shots, and of course then tied up with Mufti Mohammad Saeed. So Pooja Shali and Sunil Ji Bhatt, we look very closely at your analysis of what happens in the Jammu region as well as, of course, the Kashmir Valley. But I just want to go to Ajay Khajuria. He's an activist and political analyst based in Jammu. Ajay, welcome to Elections Unlocked. What's your sense? Is the BJP in a position to sweep these 24 seats? Is that their hope? Do you think that there is a clear Hindu-Muslim divide between Jammu and the valley?
Mr. Sadasai, thanks for giving me the opportunity to be in this show. There is not a divide which I can say. Jammu has got its distinct, regional aspirations, which is different from Kashmir. So I will not mix both. But for Jammu, I think lot many things need to be done. Even though we have traveled a journey from 2019 onwards, but still lot many things need to be done. I'm a Dogra myself, and I belong to this region, and I know the aspirations quite well. So the first one is the employment, which any government will come. They need to look at, instead of the regional divide, the first thing it need to be looked at the employment. Employment issue, it persisting from last so many years, but it is now in the worst phase because it's coupled with drug abuse. I'm coming to the point on records. Employment is resulting into frustration, which is resulting into the usage of drugs. This is a vicious circle which need to come out. Whosoever will come in the power, irrespective of the government, this particular thing need to be dealt sternly. Another thing which is very, very important for us.
But Mr. Khajuria, But Mr. Khajuria, when you speak of drug abuse, I've heard similar concerns also voiced in the valley. Youth unemployment leading to drug abuse is a problem even in the Kashmir Valley. The point is, When you say regional aspirations, does the voter in Jammu, according to you, still see himself or herself from the prism of religion? That this is Hindu Jammu versus Muslim Valley. Is that being too simplistic or is that a reality?
This is, I think, if we see from the outside, it looks like, but in reality, both the regions, especially Jammu, is looking for the development. And if there would be a development, there would be a good inflow of money, whether it's to the education, employment, or tourism, it's going to change the landscape. So as for me, when I meet people around, the people are not much more concentrated about now the religion. It's a development agenda. Whosoever is, going to take it forward is going to make a dent.
Who's benefiting from that? Who's benefiting from the development agenda? You've got the BJP, which is in power at the center, which abrogated Article 370 effectively, and you've got the Congress NC alliance. Who is seen to actually push the development agenda further at the moment?
At this moment, BJP has done the development agenda further, even though they tried their level best to, bring us to the place where we were not. We were at quite a primitive stage. So now, after 2019, pushing this agenda, we are somewhere closer to the nation, but still far off from any other parameter.
So your sense is that this election in Jammu and Kashmir, in the Jammu region, is being fought on local candidates or political parties? Do the candidates matter or the party affiliation matter?
Mr. Siddhartha, this is also depending on the areas. If you see the Pawan Khajuria, he is fighting independent from Udhampur East. So there it's not a party which is working, it's a potential of the candidate who is standing as independent. While in most of the places in Jammu, it's a BJP backed by the candidate. If the combination is good candidate with BJP, they are anyway going to win. But if the candidate is weak and the BJP is not able to push its weight on that, so that candidate is not going to win. So it's a combination which will work in these elections.
My final question, is the Congress NC at all in the race? I heard Omar Abdullah complain that the Congress needed to do more in the Jammu region. Rahul Gandhi has now campaigned there, but so has Mallikarjun Kharge. Is the Congress still playing catch-up in Jammu? And will the areas which are reserved, the constituencies reserved, be really where the real fight is?
Mr. Sardesai, they have missed the bus. Omar sir is perfectly right. They are not able to cut ice anywhere in Jammu region. They were very, very slow. They were not able to, live up to the expectation in whichever constituencies they were operating. So I think these elections, they are nowhere in Jammu region.
Very interesting. You've been very plain speaking, Ajay Khajuria. I appreciate you joining us and giving us a sense of what you believe is the ground reality in Jammu that goes to the polls tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me here on Elections Unlocked. Let me turn from there to Haryana. Remember, Haryana goes to the polls this Saturday, and all political parties are now on the ground in the final stretch, campaigning aggressively. Politics in the state has led to personal attacks at each other. Over the weekend, the Prime Minister was in Haryana. Today, the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, started his yatra from there. 8th October will reveal who gets the final say in Haryana's power corridors. Take a look.
The Gandhis enter the Haryana Dangal. Rahul and Priyanka kicked off their Vijay Sankalp Yatra on Monday with a rally in Narayangarh constituency in Ambala. The Congress leaders hit out at the Narendra Modi government on a range of topics, including Agniveer, which has become one of the top issues.
ये अग्निवीर स्कीम नहीं है, ये गलतफहमी में मत रहिए। ये जवानों की पेंशन चोरी करने का तरीका है। जो नॉर्मल जवान होता है उसे पेंशन दी जाएगी, पूरी जिंदगी उसे पेंशन दी जाएगी। जिसको अग्निवीर नाम दिया है उसे पेंशन नहीं मिलेगी। मतलब अग्निवीर से उसके जेब से पैसा छीना गया है। कहां गया? अदानी जी की जेब में।
Rahul used the rally to dismiss reports of differences between former Chief Minister Bhupender Singh Hooda and party's Dalit face Kumari Shelja with a show of unity.
कांग्रेस पार्टी बिल्कुल जमीन से काम कर रही है, सभी लोग मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं और सरकार कांग्रेस पार्टी की बनाएंगे, इसमें कोई शक नहीं।
The BJP in power for 10 years is banking on Prime Minister Modi.
जो पार्टी
अपने नेताओं के बीच एकता नहीं ला सकती, वो राज्य में स्थिरता कैसे लाएगी? आप देख रहे हैं कि कैसे यहां कांग्रेस में मुख्यमंत्री बनने के लिए मारामारी मची है। बापू भी दावेदार है और बेटा भी दावेदार है, और दोनों मिलकर बाकियों को निपटाने में लगे हैं। और ये सब देख करके हरियाणा के जागरूक नागरिक कांग्रेस को निपटाने में लग पड़े हैं।
The Congress is smelling a chance in Haryana, where it has been out of power for a decade. The party is hoping to cash in on the anger among farmers and rural population to dislodge the Nayab Singh Saini government.
बीजेपी को यहाँ पे हराओ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद। नमस्कार।
Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let's turn to the other big war of words that's taking place on the election campaign trail. Now, at a rally in Jammu and Kashmir on Sunday, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge was feeling unwell. Today, the Prime Minister spoke to the Congress President, inquired about his health. After some time, Mr. Kharge yesterday returned to the stage to address the crowd. He took the opportunity to launch a sharp attack on Prime Minister Modi, stating that he's determined to stay healthy until Mr. Modi is ousted from power. In response, Home Minister Amit Shah hit back, condemned those comments, saying that such remarks reflect the Congress's hatred towards the Prime Minister. He called the comment distasteful and disgraceful. While taking a dig, he wished Kharge a long life and expressed that he would witness the creation of a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Today, Mr. Kharge launched another attack on Amit Shah, stating that the BJP leader should focus on real issues like Manipur instead of engaging in this war of words.
स्टेट फूड का तो मैं बोला हूँ, स्टेट फूड जरूर देंगे और उसके लिए हम जरूर लड़ेंगे, चाहे कुछ भी हो। मैं ऐसा ही छोड़ने वाला नहीं। अब मेरे को तो 83 इयर्स चल रहे, इतना जल्दी मरने वाला नहीं हूँ। जब तक मोदी को नहीं हटाएंगे तब तक मैं जिंदा ही रहूंगा, आपकी बात सुनूंगा, आपके लिए लड़ूंगा।
खरगे जी थोड़ा बीमार पड़ गए, उनको इलाज करना पड़ा, पर अभी ठीक हो गए हैं। हमारे गृह मंत्री को अपने काम पर और थोड़ा ध्यान देना चाहिए, मणिपुर में ध्यान देना चाहिए। आज तक हमारे नॉन बायोलॉजिकल प्रधानमंत्री मणिपुर नहीं गए हैं।
मुझे लगता है कि खड़गे साहब राहुल गांधी के विरोधी हैं, क्योंकि मोदी जी तो अभी 100 साल बचेंगे और तब तक राहुल गांधी बूढ़े हो जाएंगे, उनको मौका नहीं मिलेगा। खड़गे साहब, आप यही चाह रहे हैं।
Why is he so obsessed with himself? We are not obsessed with them. We don't hate Narendra Modi. We love India. And because we love India, we want to free India from the clutches of Mr. Narendra Modi and Mr. Amit Shah. I'm very happy to know, to learn that finally Mr. Amit Shah has understood what is distasteful and the meaning of the word distasteful. Hopefully now the narrative coming from the BJP, the discourse from the BJP will become a little more tasteful.
Congress goes any level, this it seems. But I tell this, if Mallikarjun Kharge, his age might be 150 or 125, it will never happen what he is searching. The PM, Sri Narendra Modi ji will be the PM, well, our Prime Minister will be the 2047 while we are in the Viksit Bharat, our PM will be the PM.
खड़गे जी के मन में कितना नफरत भरा है मोदी जी के लिए। अभी मोदी जी ने इनके स्वास्थ्य का हालचाल पूछा, हम लोग भी प्रार्थना करें खड़गे जी का स्वास्थ्य ठीक हो जाए, लेकिन वो तो मोदी जी के अंत की कामना कर रहे हैं। मैं समझता हूँ इससे ज़्यादा, इससे बड़ा कांग्रेस की नकारात्मकता का, उसकी नफरत का, इससे बड़ा उदाहरण नहीं मिल सकता। ये चाहे जितनी भी नरेंद्र मोदी जी के अंत की कामना करें, इस देश के लोग उनके साथ हैं। कांग्रेस की ये निगेटिविटी उनको कहीं की नहीं छोड़ेगी, ये मेरा विश्वास। वो नरेंद्र मोदी के समाप्त होने की कामना कर रहे हैं। हे भगवान, ऐसे बीमार लोगों को ठीक करें।
कांग्रेस
मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे जी कांग्रेस का अध्यक्ष है, कांग्रेस का वरिष्ठ नेता है। उसका राजनीतिक जीवन 50 साल हो चुके हैं। जब तक देश को खतरा है, संविधान को खतरा है और जो हमारा फिरकाफरस्ती ताकत को खत्म नहीं करता है, आखिरी दम तक तो मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे साहब लड़ेंगे।
मुझे दुख इस बात का है कि खड़गे जी अब ये मानते हैं कि अभी 10-20 साल मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री नहीं हटने वाले, इसीलिए वो कह रहे हैं कि जब तक, तो ये जब तक का सपना पालना खड़गे जी छोड़ दें। हम तो यही कामना करते हैं कि उनकी लंबी उम्र हो और वो ताज़ जिंदगी इसी तरह, इसी सोच के साथ अपनी ज़िंदगी और जिएं और जिएं और जिएं और मोदी जी को प्रधानमंत्री की शपथ में हर बार आते रहें। हम उनकी सेहत की भी कामना करते हैं और उनकी अच्छी आयु की कामना करते हैं।
Well, that's all that we've had time for to pack in this edition of Elections Unlocked. News and updates continue on the other side of the break. Keep watching India Today.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hoja Rangila Re with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto. Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Tirupati Laddu controversy, Supreme Court slams CM Naidu, says no conclusive proof yet. Maharashtra government declares cow as Rajya Mata ahead of polls, cites its cultural importance. Amit Shah slams Mallikarjun Khadge for dragging PM into his health matters.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hoja Rangila Re with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
Tirupati, we have come here yesterday. We have conducted our initial meetings, and after that we are preparing our action plan. Accordingly, we are going ahead.
हमको सावधान रहना चाहिए। ऐसे सभी लोग को जो हिंदू नहीं है या हिंदू धर्म में विश्वास नहीं करते या ईश्वर खाली नाम के लिए हिंदू हैं, उनका ईश्वर विश्वास नहीं है और हिंदू धर्म मानते नहीं है, उन सबको उसमें करना चाहिए। संगठन में से ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है और इस तरह का जो हुआ है पाप कर्म वो हटना चाहिए।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Presented by Parul University, Vadodara, Gujarat. Co-presented by आपका जॉय भारत का जॉय, जॉय ई-बाइक।
All elections are important, but some are more important than others. Haryana state elections 2024 fits that bill.
जो युवा है हरियाणा में चुनाव कैसा देख रहा है?
सिर्फ अग्निवीर के कम है यार, नहीं या तो उसको समझ नहीं पा रहे या सरकार समझा नहीं पा रही।
ताई कौन जीतेगा इस बार हरियाणा?
के बेरो के लगा है के बेरो की पार्टी बैठा हुआ है।
सही बात, के बेरा। When you ask them about politics, especially where legacy seats are concerned, they say भाई यो सीट तो ब्याही हुई है।
The one who wins the Chodra here could give a far-reaching political message.
राम राम जी।
जो सोचा तो करा नहीं सरकार ने।
इस सरकार में?
हाँ जी।
19 में किसके साथ थे जी?
19 में बीजेपी के साथ में।
अगर तो कांग्रेस की आवाज अच्छी है, बदलाव चाहते लोग।
कम निकम्मा होगा उसको वोट दूंगा।
And with Haryana's Lok Sabha result 5-5 to BJP and Congress.
Prem ticket?
One never wanted to, be a turncoat.
Do you see yourself as a turncoat?
No, not at all.
The Congress, on a resurgence in the state, is sensing a political kill.
And this is the second time that the families have come against each other.
That's her point of view. I disagree with it.
Jawan for Agniveer, Kisan for the farmers' protest, Naujawan for unemployment, and Samvidhan for the Dalit vote. The Congress would hope to ride back to power to the state of Haryana on these 4 factors. But is it really that easy? This time around, the 90 assembly seats of Haryana will go to vote on the 5th of October. Will it be an intensely bipolar contest between the Congress and the Bharatiya Janata Party? Because there are others in the fray. There is the INLD alongside the BSP in an alliance. There is the JJP alongside Chandrasekhar Azad's party, Apna Samaj Party. And in the mix is also the Aam Aadmi Party. How will it pan out? We'll know on the 8th of October. ताई कौन जीतेगा इस बार हरियाणा? क्या लगे है?
भाई ने के बेरो के लगा है के बेरो की पार्टी बैठा हुआ है।
सही बात, के बेरा
बेरो को
नहीं।
It's 6 a.m. The Brigadier Hoshiar Singh Stadium is buzzing. This was the training ground for army hopefuls. With the unpopular Agniveer scheme, a lot has changed.
विक्रांत जी, क्या कोचिंग करते हो आप?
हाँ जी, कोचिंग करता हूँ।
किसकी कोचिंग कर रहे हो?
मैं एथलेटिक्स की करवाता हूँ।
एथलेटिक्स?
हाँ, लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस, आर्मी, अग्निवीर, इन चीज़ों की करवाता हूँ।
सभी? कितने लड़के आ जाते हैं आपके एक बैच में जी?
ये मान लो 20-25 फिजिकल वाले आ जाते हैं और बाकी फिटनेस वाले रह गए वो अलग है।
20-25 फिजिकल वाले और बाकी जो फिटनेस वाले, फिजिकल वाले जिनको जो ट्रेन कर रहे हैं जी, पुलिस के लिए, अग्निवीर के लिए
20-25 बच्चे आ जाते हैं।
अच्छा जी, और पहले मतलब वो कम हुए हैं या ज़्यादा हुए हैं?
सिर्फ अग्निवीर के कम हुए, आर्मी के
सिर्फ अग्निवीर के कम हुए?
अग्निवीर वाले कम हुए।
क्यों कम हुए हैं जी?
अग्निवीर योजना की वजह से हुए हैं जी, नहीं तो पहले भीड़ रहती थी ग्राउंड में काफ़ी। पहले कभी आके देखते आप 40 बच्चे 50 बच्चे, एक वहाँ करवाता था, वो तो छोड़ ही गया जब से अग्निवीर का चक्कर आया।
छोड़ दिया जी?
उसने करवानी ही छोड़ दी प्रैक्टिस, क्योंकि 40-50 बच्चे उसके पास रहते ही है। और जब से अग्निवीर आई है तब से मामला बच्चों का डाउन हो गया, मोरल डाउन हो गया उनका।
मोरल डाउन हुआ है।
बच्चे या तो उसको समझ नहीं पा रहे जो सरकार कर रही है, या तो उसको समझ नहीं पा रहे, या सरकार समझा नहीं पा रही।
जो
नहीं समझ रही हो।
हाँ,
या सरकार भी बच्चों की नहीं समझ रही,
या सरकार भी बच्चों की ना समझ रही हो। क्या करते हैं?
जी मैं तो अभी फिजिकल की तैयारी कर रहा हूँ।
आप फिजिकल की कहाँ किस में जाना चाह रहे हैं जी?
जी अभी तो मतलब गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर जैसे दिल्ली पुलिस हो गया, CISF, मतलब SSC GD की जो भर्ती हो।
दिल्ली पुलिस, CISF, अग्निवीर का नहीं, उसमें नहीं पढ़ना चाह रहे जी। क्यों छोड़ दिया जी? स्कीम सही है कि गलत है जी?
गलत है जी,
स्कीम गलत है।
4 साल बाद क्या करेंगे?
इस बार जो सरकार कह रही है कि 4 साल के बाद इसमें नौकरी दे देंगे, उसमें दे देंगे, समझ में आ रही है? नहीं आ रही।
10% कोटा है जी, कितने बाहर आएंगे और कितने लग जाएंगे? सारे
जो 10% कोटा दे रहे हैं जी,
और वो भी हरियाणा में बाहर थोड़ी दिया है।
सही बात है जी, जो हरियाणा में
नौकरी में थोड़ी दिया है।
चुनाव में इम्पैक्ट करेगा?
बिल्कुल, 18 से 21 वाला पूरा यूथ है जी।
18 से
21 मतलब इतनी की भर्ती होती है, तो ये तो सारी मतलब सब अगेंस्ट ही होंगे स्कीम के, बहुत कम मतलब 0 पॉइंट कुछ फेवर में होगा, वरना सब अगेंस्ट है इस स्कीम के।
आपको लगता है रोजगार है? रोजगारी में तो हरियाणा तो सबसे कम उस पर है, सबसे कम रोजगार है वैसे तो हरियाणा।
रोजगार है पर
होंगी बार-बार तो कैसे? भर्ती बार-बार कैंसिल होंगी तो क्या होगा?
भर्ती जो कैंसिल हो रही है,
केस चलते रहते हैं मैम भर्तियों पे लगातार। पिछले 5 साल में देखो लगातार CET का मसला आज तक हल नहीं हुआ। एक बार CET हुआ है कितने सालों में। अब जो हरियाणा पुलिस की भर्ती है उसमें हम जैसे को तो मौका ही नहीं मिला, जो अब 18 के हुए थे।
क्यों नहीं मिला?
CET ही नहीं हुआ, और CET के बिना फॉर्म नहीं अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते।
4 साल बाद वेटिंग लिस्ट आ रही है। मैंने भी हरियाणा पुलिस का फिजिकल दिया था।
आपने दिया था?
और अब तक वेटिंग लिस्ट आ रही है उसकी, और मेरे को ज्वाइन करे हुए 8 महीने हो गए इंडिया पोस्ट में।
और आपने कब दिया था फिजिकल?
21-22 की बात है। कोई भी एक भर्ती, कोई भी जैसे हरियाणा पुलिस की है, क्लर्क की है या ग्राम सचिव की है, अगर वो टाइमली 6 महीने में या 1 साल में पूरी होती है तो बच्चे को ये रहेगा कि हाँ हमें इस चीज़ की तैयारी करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि बच्चे लग रहे हैं इस चीज़ में। और वही भर्ती 4 साल चलेगी तो बच्चे का मनोबल तो वैसे ही टूट रहा है। तैयारी कहाँ से करेगा बच्चा? फिर वो तो फिर छोड़ ही देगा हरियाणा की तैयारी करना। वो सोचेगा मैं तो फिर कोचिंग लेके CGL वगैरह की, या फिर पहले ही प्राइवेट सेक्टर की तरफ मूव ऑन कर जाएगा।
The resentment of youth finding echo in the cynicism of the old.
ये बताता हूँ 19 में किसके साथ थे?
19 में हम बीजेपी के साथ थे।
बीजेपी के साथ। इस बार
अब के कांग्रेस के साथ।
क्यों?
भाई काम नहीं कराया इन्होंने कुछ भी।
नहीं कराया ना। 14 में किसके साथ थे?
अब इतनी याददाश्त नहीं है जी मेरी 75 साल।
कांग्रेस आ जाएगी, पंडित जी ठीक कर रहे, लेकिन भादोड़ में बहुत मुश्किल है।
लेकिन भादोड़ में मुश्किल है। इनेलो चल रही है,
बता देंगे।
इनेलो चल रही है।
मैंने ये कही है हरियाणा में। मैंने हरियाणा का नाम लिया है। हाँ, मेरी बात को दोबारा रिपीट मत करो। मैंने ये कहा हरियाणा में कांग्रेस, ये कहा मैंने। हाँ, मतलब जलेबी तेरे मेरी बात को घुमाऊं मत।
मैं कहाँ घुमा रही हूँ?
हाँ, मैंने हरियाणा का नाम लिया था।
इन्होंने घुमाई बात तो
मैंने तो हरियाणा का नाम लिया। हरियाणा में कांग्रेस आएगी, हम कांग्रेस के साथ हैं। पहले वाले इलेक्शन में बीजेपी के साथ थे, अब हम कांग्रेस के साथ हैं।
इस बार
कांग्रेस के साथ।
क्यों कांग्रेस आपको लग रहा है जीता के इस बार?
देखो जी, उम्मीद होती है, उम्मीद है काम करेंगे। हम बुजुर्ग आदमी, हमें 6000 पैसे मिलेंगे। अपना स्वार्थ भी देख रहे हैं।
स्वार्थ देख रहे हैं?
हाँ, स्वार्थ है जी। साहब बताएंगे जी, हम तो 25,000 का कह रहे हैं आपको, वो भी देंगे मेडिकल चले। इन्होंने 500 का नाम
300 यूनिट फ्री दे रहे हैं।
इन्होंने बीजेपी वालों ने 5000 का कहा था, अपने आदमियों को बना दिया। हमारा आज तक नहीं बढ़ा कार्ड। पूरी कोशिश कर ली, कोई सुनता ही नहीं हमारी। अब मोदी जी ने कहा 70 साल के बाद जो बुढ़ा है, बुजुर्ग आदमी है, उसका बनेगा, वो भी नहीं बना हमारा। लोकसभा में भी कहा मोदी जी ने, इसीलिए हटे हम। लोकसभा में कहा नहीं कहा मोदी जी ने कि हम 70 साल से ऊपर वालों को 5 लाख का क्लेम देंगे। हमें तो क्लेम मिलता नहीं।
लोकसभा में भी इस बार किसके साथ थे?
देखो जी, लोकसभा में तो हम दीपेंद्र हुड्डा के साथ।
दीपेंद्र हुड्डा के साथ? इस बार भी दीपेंद्र हुड्डा के साथ?
नहीं, अब हम कांग्रेस के साथ हैं। फर्क है जी बातों में।
फर्क है।
हाँ।
मैं समझता हूँ किसी भी विधायक ने, किसी भी सरकार ने बहादुरगढ़ को जस्टिफाई नहीं किया। 1997 में पहली बार ऐसा था कि बहादुरगढ़ को जिला बनाने की आवाज़ उठी थी। आज तक कोई बंदा ऐसा नहीं है जो ये कहे कि मुझे बहादुरगढ़ को डिस्ट्रिक्ट बनाना है। तो जो बहादुरगढ़ को जिला बनाने की कोशिश करेगा, हम उसका समर्थन करेंगे।
क्या सोच के वोट देंगे?
मैं बस यही सोच के वोट दूंगा कि मेरी जिम्मेदारी है, और जब मैं वो ईवीएम मशीन के पास होऊंगा तो मेरा जो दिल गवाही देगा, जो सबसे कम निकम्मा होगा उसको वोट दूंगा।
कौन है सबसे कम निकम्मा जी?
ये तो देखिए, बटन पे जब हाथ जाएगा तभी पता लगेगा।
तभी पता लगेगा। चलो ठीक है जी, ठीक।
If you know Haryana or a Haryanvi, you know they don't mince their words. Their affection, their disdain, they wear on their sleeve. Rice and bajra fields dot the Haryana landscape. But the political landscape is different this election. The farmers' agitation have said to have sown the seeds of rebellion. Over 30 farmers from Haryana died during the agitation. But like I said, Haryanvis wear their affection on their sleeve.
खेती करते हो जी?
खेती।
किसकी खेती?
या बाजरी, सिरसम, गेहूँ।
गेहूँ। ये जमीन आपकी है?
जमीन ठेकन लिया।
ठेके ने ले रखी?
ठेका ने चौथा न बावा।
लागत कितनी हो है?
लागत तो गणी है।
लागत बहुत ज्यादा है, गणी है। और बचने में कितना? कुछ नहीं बचता।
बचना में कुछ कौन बचा जी, बगाड़ा वर्षा कौन रहा में। ये देखो यो है, इसमें यार 20 मन कौन या 10 गुण बाजरी लिकड़ेगी।
कुछ नहीं निकलना।
कुछ नहीं, 1.25 किलो में के लिकड़ा।
क्या सोच के वोट गिरोगे? क्या मतलब किसान हो, क्या चाहते हो?
वोट तो मोदी ने देख रहा है, इसने 2-3 साल हो गए इससे के चलना।
मोदी को गिर रहे हो? मोदी पसंद है? क्यों पसंद है?
पसंद यो करा है 3000 तो दे पिलसन के नाड़ा दिन। और 2000 खेती के दे हमें तो लोगों ने, चाहे 1 बीघा हो, 2000 रुपये उसके दे।
मोदी पसंद।
हाँ, और गेहूँ है, तेल है, यो फ्री दे है।
गेहूँ और हाँ गेहूँ
5 किलो आदमी के। तेल 1 बोतल 2 लीटर तेल की।
तेल 2 लीटर।
हाँ, और किलो चीनी।
किलो चीनी दे रहे हैं।
ये फ्री दे है जी। हाँ, इस बार भी
कमल।
हाँ, बस वो है जी, कमल है।
वही है,
कमल है जी।
हाथ नहीं?
हाथ को नहीं।
हाथ नहीं पसंद।
हाथ की मैं काम में कौन करे। हमें ये 3 साल तो मतलब ये बना है ना, जब देने लगे। हाँ, पहले कांग्रेस ने दे कर दे।
10 साल पहले।
हाँ, किन्ने कौन करे, बूढ़े देंदे हो गए, हम ही चले जाओ। ये भी यो है ना, यो काम करे।
यो काम करे है। चलो जी, तब राम राम।
मजदूर आदमी हाँ करा। हाँ,
सही बात करके ला। सही बात है जी। चलो।
Not far from here is the Anaj Mandi, where farmers works on just 1 acre of land and dependent on government subsidies for everything else. Farmers with bigger land holdings don't share the same view or affection for the BJP government. And surprisingly, this time, they are joined by traders, traditional BJP voters.
राम राम जी।
राम राम जी, राम राम
जी। आप कहाँ सारे किसान हैं या
व्यापारी है?
व्यापारी हैं।
व्यापारी भी
सारे व्यापारी हैं मंडी के।
किसान भी है, साथ ही है।
किसान कौन है यहाँ पर?
किसान ये है।
किसान आप 2 लोग हैं, बाकी आप भी किसान हैं?
ये भी किसान है जी।
आप भी किसान हैं, आप व्यापारी हैं?
हाँ जी।
चुनाव देख रहे हैं इस बार?
खूब देख रहे हैं जी।
कैसे देख रहे हैं?
अच्छा देख रहे हैं, बढ़िया।
क्या लग रहा है इस बार?
अगर कांग्रेस की आवाज अच्छी है।
कांग्रेस की आवाज अच्छी है? क्यों लग रहा है इस बार कांग्रेस की आवाज?
बदलाव चाहते हैं लोग।
आप भी?
हम भी बदलाव चाहते हैं।
19 में किसके साथ थे?
19 में बीजेपी के साथ थे।
बीजेपी को वोट दिए थे?
दिया था।
विधानसभा में?
विधानसभा में दिया था।
दिया था?
दिया था।
क्या सोच के दिया था जी?
दिया था भी कुछ काम होएगा, प्रगति होएगी। वो बात में पूरे उतरे नहीं।
पूरे नहीं उतरे?
नहीं उतरे।
क्यों नहीं है उतरे?
नहीं उतरे, इनका आपस ऐसे मामला है।
क्या पसंद नहीं आया?
वे धर्म जाति की राजनीति करते हैं, धर्मों को बिड़ाते हैं आपस में, हिंदू मुसलमान का खेल खेलते हैं।
आप किसान हैं?
हाँ जी।
किसकी खेती करते हैं जी?
खेती करते हैं हमें
किसकी खेती?
गेहूं की, चने की, सरसों की, कपास की, बाजरे की।
अच्छा जी।
हाँ।
इस बार किसकी खेती लाए हैं जी?
बाजरे की।
बाजरे की लाए हैं।
हाँ।
रेट ठीक मिल रहा है?
रेट तो ठीक मिला है, लेकिन यह गवर्नमेंट तो कर्म की कोनी।
करम की कोणी पर क्या कर दिया?
या तो बेड़ा डूब दिया इसने तो।
क्यों बेड़ा डूब दिया?
समझा ना, बेड़ा तो काम तो कर दिया कौन, बेरोजगार नहीं किसी ने, समझा ना। सारी खाद्यान्न 10,000 रुपये हम कितने आदमी ले लेते, ये 10,000 रुपये हम पेट भरा है कोई।
10,000 रुपये किसके जी?
महीने के तनख्वाह के, आदमी के, मजदूर की नौकरी के। बेरोजगारी इतनी है जिसका कोई हद नहीं।
आपके हैं लड़के यार?
हाँ है,
बेरोजगार है?
बिल्कुल बेरोजगार, दर दर के ठोकर खानता है।
कुछ मिले है किसान को?
क्या मिला था? कुछ नहीं मिलता कि मैं मड़ा उड़ा हुआ है तो ये बिचले खा जाए।
आपकी बात करें? इस बार क्या लगे?
इस बार यमुना पार।
यमुना पार माने?
हाँ। कांग्रेस।
अच्छा।
पिछली बार तो 70 पार थी बीजेपी।
हाँ।
अब की बार बीजेपी है यमुना पार।
अच्छा, बीजेपी यमुना पार।
हाँ।
अच्छा,
कांग्रेस आएगी?
कांग्रेस आएगी
बिल्कुल।
यूरिया की इतनी क्राइस है जिसका कोई हिसाब नहीं है। टाइम पर मिलती है, डीएपी मिल ही नहीं रही अब।
नहीं मिल रही है?
शाम को रात को 3 बजे लगते हैं, 2 बजे 3 बजे लगते हैं, फिर जाके 2 कट्टे मिलते हैं।
जो संकल्प पत्र है बीजेपी का संकल्प पत्र, वो तो कह रही है किसानों को देगी 300 यूनिट बिजली फ्री देगी, एमएसपी में 24 जो
किम्मे कौन दे, नहीं दोनों सरकारी कहती है। ये तो दोनों सरकारी कहती है।
हाँ।
ये वोट लेना है, वो चाहे किम्मे को वहीं जाओ।
सरकार कहती है कि हमें ये काम किए, परिवारवाद की बात कर देते हैं। कल प्रधानमंत्री सहारा आया था, वहाँ पे देश का क्या किया उसने? कहते हैं कि बंसी लाल, भजन लाल, अरे सारे तो वही कांग्रेस के थे, आपने बीजेपी में ले लिए। शिक्षा नहीं है, पढ़े लिखे नौजवान, बेबे बहन और भाई बूढ़े डीएपी के लिए परेशान, बीज के लिए परेशान, सब लाइनों में खड़े कर दिए। कहते हैं कि काम किया है।
यहाँ खाद लेने आ जाते हैं, खाद नहीं मिलती। खाद सुबह 4 बजे लाइन में लगते हैं, 5 कट्टे देते हैं, उसके साथ में नैनो यूरिया नैनो डीएपी साथ में चेप देते हैं। कहते हैं ये किसान को सस्ता पड़ेगा, लेकिन सस्ता क्या, वो 200 सवा 200 रुपये की तो वो देते हैं, 5 टंकी उसमें पड़ती है, 250 रुपये वो ले जाते हैं, वो 500 रुपये का कट्टा हो गया, ये 270 का मिलता है। तो वो तो डबल खर्चा बैठ गया, जमींदार करे क्या करे।
वोट डालते हो?
अपनी मजदूरी करी, अपना रोटी खाई। हाँ, वोट तो डाला है। हाँ।
क्या सोच के वोट डालते हो?
वोट तो कोई देश के बारे में कोई बढ़िया काम करे उसने दे दिया वोट, कोई गरीब का हक में कोई बात करे दे दिया।
कौन करे गरीब के हक में बात?
गरीब का हक में तो बीजेपी करे है।
बीजेपी करे है?
हाँ, मजदूरा बच्चे लाके मजदूरा मजदूरी मिले है।
बीजेपी पसंद है जी?
हाँ, पसंद से।
While 10 years of anti-incumbency against the BJP is visible, there are those who still swear allegiance. And allegiance in Haryana is often weighed on the metrics of caste, where elections are lost and elections are won on the basis of caste mobilization. Comprising 33% of the state's population, OBCs form the majority of voters in the state. They are followed by Jats, 26 to 27%. The Dalits stand at 21%. The majority of the OBCs and Dalits are found in 35 of the 90 assembly constituencies in Haryana, including the 17 for scheduled caste. In 2019, the BJP won 21 of these seats, while the Congress won 15 and the JJP 8. It's the OBCs and Dalits that the BJP is targeting, along with the Punjabi, Baniya and Brahman vote. The Congress would hope to retain the Dalit-Jat vote combination that it managed in the Lok Sabha and chip away a little at the BJP traditional vote bank.